A single father finds the CEO the world thought dead, shivering on the side of the road in the dawn fog. "Don't tell anyone you saw me," she whispers, blood dripping from her hand. But when Noah Redding decides to take her home, he has no idea that his decision will make his small family the target of a sinister conspiracy, where orphans are used as guinea pigs, and the truth costs lives. Follow the story to the end, and be sure to comment with the name of the city you're viewing from, so I know how far this story has come. The fog came first. It always did along the Windmere coast, rolling in thick and salt-heavy just before dawn, swallowing the road in sheets of gray that made headlights useless and instinct everything. Noah Redding had driven this route 1,000 times, knew every pothole, every blind curve, every place where the asphalt crumbled into gravel and danger, but this morning felt different. Wrong. The kind of wrong that prickled along the back of his neck and made his hands tighten on the steering wheel. "Daddy, why is it so foggy?" June's voice floated from the back seat, small and curious, cutting through the silence. Noah glanced in the rearview mirror. His daughter sat bundled in her pink jacket, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest, her wide brown eyes fixed on the gray wall beyond the windshield. She was 6 years old. 6 years of scraped knees and bedtime stories, of laughter that filled the empty spaces in their tiny house, of a smile that reminded him so much of her mother, it sometimes hurt to breathe. "It's just the ocean, sweetheart," Noah said, keeping his voice steady. "The cold water meets the warm air, and it makes clouds that come down to say hello." "Do the clouds get lost?" "Sometimes, but they always find their way home." June seemed satisfied with that answer, humming softly as she made her rabbit dance across the seat. Noah turned his attention back to the road, his foot easing off the gas as the fog thickened. 5 miles to June's school, then another 12 to the workshop where he spent his days fixing boats and engines for people who paid in cash and didn't ask questions about the scars on his hands or the shadows in his eyes. It was a quiet life, a safe life, exactly what he'd promised himself after everything that had happened before. The truck's headlights cut weak tunnels through the fog, illuminating nothing but more gray. Noah leaned forward, squinting, searching for the faded yellow line that marked the center of the road. The coastal route was dangerous in weather like this. Too many tourists had missed a turn and ended up at the bottom of the cliffs, their cars swallowed by rocks and tide. But it was the fastest way to town, and June's teacher didn't tolerate tardiness. "Daddy, there's someone." Noah's foot hit the brake before his mind fully processed June's words. The truck shuddered, tires grinding against wet asphalt, momentum carrying them forward another 10 feet before they jerked to a stop. "Where?" Noah's voice came out sharper than he intended. June pointed through the windshield, her small finger trembling. "Right there, by the wall." Noah followed her gaze, his heart hammering. At first, he saw nothing, just fog and the vague outline of the old brick wall that ran along the cliffside, remnants of a failed resort project from decades ago. Then movement. A shape, hunched and dark against the pale brick. A person. Noah's instincts fired all at once, the old training from another life flooding back. Assess the threat, evaluate escape routes, protect the civilian. Except the civilian was his daughter, and the threat was... what? A hitchhiker. Someone whose car had broken down. Someone hiding? "Stay in the truck, June." Noah's hand was already on the door handle. "But Daddy..." "Stay. In the truck." He softened his tone, reaching back to squeeze her knee. "I'll be right back, okay? Lock the doors after me. Don't open them for anyone except Daddy." June nodded, her eyes enormous. Noah waited until he heard the locks click, then stepped out into the fog. The cold hit him immediately, damp and biting, carrying the smell of seaweed and stone. Noah moved slowly, his boots crunching on loose gravel, his eyes never leaving the figure by the wall. As he got closer, details emerged from the gray. Blonde hair tangled and matted, clothes torn and stained with what looked like mud or blood, bare feet scraped raw, hands pressed against the brick as if the wall was the only thing holding the person upright. A woman. "Hey!" Noah called out, keeping his distance, his voice low and calm. "Are you hurt? Do you need help?" The woman's head snapped up, and Noah saw her face for the first time. Even through the grime and bruises, even with one eye swollen nearly shut and her lips split and bleeding, Noah recognized her. The shape of her jaw. The sharp, intelligent eyes that had stared out from 1,000 magazine covers and news broadcasts. The face that had been plastered across every screen in the country 2 years ago when the scandal broke. Eva Marlowe. The CEO everyone believed was dead. Don't, her voice cracked barely more than a whisper. Don't tell anyone you saw me. Noah's mind raced. Eva Marlowe, former CEO of Marlowe Pharmaceuticals, the billion-dollar empire that had collapsed in fire and fury and federal investigations. The woman who'd supposedly died in a boating accident off the coast of California while fleeing charges of corporate fraud and insider trading. The woman whose face had been on the news for weeks, dissected and analyzed and ultimately forgotten as the world moved on to newer scandals. Except she wasn't dead. She was here, on a forgotten coastal road in Windermere, Oregon, looking like she'd crawled through hell to get here. You're... Noah started. No. Eva's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. Her fingers were ice cold, her grip desperate. Please. No names, no questions. Just forget you saw me. Drive away. Protect your daughter. Noah's blood went cold. How do you know I have a daughter? I saw her. In the truck. Eva's eyes darted past him, then back, wild and terrified. You seem like a good man, a careful man. So be careful now. Forget me. Because if you don't, they'll... She broke off, her breath hitching. They'll hurt everyone you love to get to me. Every instinct screamed at Noah to do exactly what she said. Get back in the truck. Drive June to school. Forget this ever happened. It was the smart choice. The safe choice. But Noah had never been good at making safe choices. Who's hunting you? He asked quietly. People with money. Power. People who don't leave witnesses. Eva's voice dropped even lower. I can't tell you more. I won't. Because the less you know, the safer... Too late. Noah glanced back at the truck, where June's face was pressed against the window, watching. My daughter already saw you. If someone's tracking you, if they're watching this road, they'll know I stopped. They'll come asking questions. Eva's face crumbled. Then I've already killed you both. Not yet, you haven't. Noah made his decision in that instant, the same way he'd made decisions in Afghanistan when the bullets were flying and time was a luxury no one could afford. Trust your gut. Act fast. Deal with consequences later. Can you walk? What? Can you walk? Noah repeated slowly. Because if you can, you're getting in my truck. If you can't, I'm carrying you. Either way, standing here in the open is the stupidest thing we could possibly do right now. Eva stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had. You don't understand. I understand that you're injured, terrified, and about 5 minutes away from collapsing. Noah kept his voice matter-of-fact, the same tone he used to use when talking down panicked soldiers. I understand that whoever you're running from is probably watching every hospital, every bus station, every place someone like you might turn up. And I understand that my daughter is sitting in that truck wondering why I'm taking so long, which means we're wasting time. You have no idea what you're risking. Then you can explain it to me later. Right now you're making a choice. Trust a stranger or take your chances with whoever left you looking like that. Noah held out his hand. I'm Noah. And I'm only going to ask one more time. Can you walk? For a long moment, Eva didn't move. Then slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Her legs nearly gave out on the first step. Noah caught her, slipping an arm around her waist, feeling the sharp jut of ribs through her torn shirt. She was malnourished, dehydrated, running on nothing but fear and adrenaline. Easy, Noah murmured. I've got you. They made it to the truck in painful, halting steps. June's face appeared in the window, her eyes wide as moons. Noah could see the questions forming, the fear, the confusion. But his daughter was smart, braver than she had any right to be at 6 years old. She unlocked the door without being told. Sweetheart, this lady needs help, Noah said as he helped Eva into the passenger seat. The woman collapsed against the worn upholstery, her breathing ragged. She's hurt, and she's scared, and we're going to take care of her, okay? June nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on Eva's bloody hands. Is she gonna die? Not if we can help it. Noah climbed behind the wheel, his mind already racing ahead. Not the hospital. Too public, too many questions. Not the police. Not until he understood what was happening. His house? Maybe. But if someone was tracking Eva, his house would be the first place they'd look after checking local hospitals and motels. He needed somewhere off the grid. Somewhere forgotten. The storage shed. Noah's workshop sat on 3 acres of land inherited from his grandfather, most of it overgrown and unused. Behind the main building, half buried in blackberry bushes and Scotch broom, was an old storage shed his grandfather had built back in the 70s. Stone foundation, reinforced walls, no windows. It had been used to store tools and equipment, but Noah hadn't been inside in years. It was dry, hidden, and most importantly, no one knew it existed. "Buckle up, June," Noah said, throwing the truck into gear. The tires spun on wet gravel before catching. He pulled onto the road, heading not toward town but deeper into the fog, toward the winding back roads that led to his property. "Where are we going?" Eva's voice was barely audible. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't look." Noah's eyes flicked to the rear-view mirror, checking for headlights, for any sign they were being followed. The road behind them remained empty. "Then you're going to tell me exactly what kind of hell you just brought to my doorstep." Eva said nothing. Her head lolled against the window, consciousness slipping. Noah pressed harder on the gas, the truck bouncing over potholes, the fog closing in behind them like a door swinging shut. In the back seat, June whispered to her rabbit, "It's okay. Daddy saves people. That's what he does." Noah wished he believed it. The workshop emerged from the fog like a ghost, a low, weathered building with peeling blue paint and a sagging roof, surrounded by the skeletal remains of boats and engines in various states of repair. Noah had bought the property for almost nothing 5 years ago, after he'd left the service and needed somewhere to disappear, somewhere to raise June far from the noise and crowds and memories. He pulled the truck around back, out of sight from the road, and killed the engine. Eva was unconscious now, her breathing shallow but steady. Noah sat for a moment, his hands still on the wheel, reality catching up with adrenaline. What the hell had he just done? "Daddy?" June's voice was small. "Is the lady going to be okay?" Noah turned to look at his daughter. She was still clutching her rabbit, but her eyes were clear, focused, waiting for him to be the adult, the father, the person who had answers. "I'm going to do everything I can," Noah said honestly. "But I need you to be very brave right now, June. Can you do that for me?" June nodded. "Good girl." Noah opened his door, the cold morning air rushing in. "I need to get her inside. You stay in the truck until I come back for you, understand? Don't get out. Don't call anyone, just wait." "Okay, Daddy." Noah moved quickly, circling to the passenger side. Eva stirred as he opened the door, her eyes fluttering. Somewhere safe," Noah repeated. He lifted her carefully, surprised by how light she was. She probably weighed less than 100 pounds. "Just hold on." The path to the storage shed was overgrown, brambles catching at Noah's jeans and jacket as he carried Eva through the brush. His shoulder screamed in protest, the old injury from Kandahar that never quite healed right, but he gritted his teeth and pushed forward. The shed's door was half buried in vines, the padlock rusted but still intact. Noah managed to get it open with one hand, kicking the door wide. Inside, the shed smelled of dust and motor oil. Light filtered through cracks in the walls, illuminating workbenches covered in old tarps, shelves lined with mason jars and rusted tools, a camp cot shoved in one corner. Noah laid Eva on the cot, pulling a tarp aside to find a moth-eaten blanket underneath. He spread it over her, checking her pulse. Weak but steady. Her clothes were worse than he'd thought. The shirt was barely holding together, the fabric stiff with dried blood. Cuts covered her arms, some fresh, others days old and infected. Her feet were shredded, like she'd been walking for miles over rough terrain. Christ, Noah breathed. What had she been through? Eva's eyes opened, unfocused. "My bag," she whispered. "I had a bag. I didn't see a bag. The wall, by the wall, hidden." Her hand grabbed his wrist again, weaker this time. "You have to get it. Everything Everything's in there. The proof. Proof of what? But Eva's eyes had closed again, her body finally surrendering to exhaustion. Noah stood, his mind racing. He needed to get back to June. He needed medical supplies. He needed to figure out if anyone had seen them. And apparently, he needed to go back to that wall and find a bag that might contain answers, or might get them all killed. One thing at a time. He hurried back to the truck, where June was exactly where he'd left her, sitting quietly with her rabbit. "She's resting," Noah told his daughter, forcing a smile he didn't feel. "Now we need to get you to school." "But what about the lady?" "I'll come back and check on her after I drop you off." Noah started the engine, pulling back onto the rutted track that led to the main road. "June, this is very important. You can't tell anyone about her, not your teacher, not your friends, not anyone. Okay?" "Why not?" "Because she's in trouble, and the people looking for her might hurt her if they find out where she is. We're keeping her safe, like a secret mission." June's eyes lit up slightly at that. "Like in your army stories." "Exactly like that." Noah's chest tightened. He hated lying to his daughter, but what else could he do? Tell a 6-year-old that he'd just brought home a fugitive CEO who might be the target of corporate assassins? "Can you keep a secret, sweetheart?" "I'm good at secrets." June drew an X over her heart. "Cross my heart. That's my girl." The drive to June's school passed in a blur. Noah's mind kept returning to Eva's words. The proof. "They'll hurt everyone you love. I've already killed you both." What kind of proof? Proof of what? The news reports from 2 years ago had painted Eva Marlowe as a villain, a greedy executive who'd cooked the books and stolen from investors. But the woman he'd found on that road didn't look like a con artist. She looked like someone who'd been running for her life. He pulled up outside Windmere Elementary, a small brick building with a playground and a faded mural of the ocean. Other parents were dropping off their kids, the usual morning chaos of backpacks and lunchboxes and last-minute reminders. Normal. Safe. "Have a good day, June." Noah kissed his daughter's forehead, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. "I'll pick you up at 3, okay?" "Okay, Daddy." June hesitated, then hugged him tight. "Be careful with the lady." "I will." He watched until June disappeared into the school, her pink backpack bouncing with each step. Then he turned the truck around and headed back toward the coast, toward the brick wall and the fog, and whatever Eva had left hidden there. The fog was lifting by the time Noah reached the spot where he'd found Eva. Morning light filtered through in pale shafts, turning the ocean beyond the cliffs into sheets of hammered silver. Noah parked on the shoulder and approached the wall carefully, his eyes scanning for anything out of place. At first he saw nothing. Then a glint of black caught his eye. Synthetic fabric wedged behind a loose brick about 2 feet off the ground. Noah pulled, and a small messenger bag came free, surprisingly heavy for its size. He glanced around. The road was empty in both directions. Still, his skin prickled with the feeling of being watched. Noah tucked the bag inside his jacket and walked back to the truck, forcing himself not to run. Once inside, he locked the doors and opened the bag. A laptop. Dead, judging by the cracked screen. A wallet with no ID, just cash, nearly $3,000 in worn bills. A burner phone, also dead. And something else. A small, rectangular case made of titanium, no bigger than a deck of cards. Noah opened the case. Inside, nestled in foam, was a solid-state drive. His hand stilled. This was it. The proof Eva had mentioned. Whatever was on this drive had sent her running for 2 years, had turned her from a powerful CEO into a terrified fugitive. And now it was in Noah's hands. He should throw it away, toss it into the ocean, and forget any of this happened. Instead, he closed the case and slipped it into his pocket. The drive back to the workshop took 15 minutes. Noah spent every second checking his mirrors, watching for tail vehicles, for any sign they'd been compromised. Nothing. The roads remained empty, the fog dissipating into wisps. Back at the shed, Eva was awake, sitting up on the cot. She'd found a bottle of water somewhere and was drinking it in small, careful sips. Her eyes locked onto Noah as he entered. "You came back," she said, her voice hoarse. "I said I would." Noah pulled the bag from his jacket and held it out. "Found this where you said." Eva's hands shook as she took the bag, digging through it frantically until she found the titanium case. She opened it, stared at the drive inside, and let out a breath that sounded like a sob. "It's still here," she whispered. "They didn't find it." "What's on it?" Noah asked bluntly. Eva looked up at him, her bruised face unreadable. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, "Evidence that will destroy one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. Evidence that they've been running illegal drug trials on children for the past decade. Evidence that when I tried to stop it, they tried to kill me." The words hung in the air like smoke. "Children," Noah repeated slowly. "Orphans, foster kids, children no one was looking for." Eva's voice was flat, emotionless, like she'd told this story so many times she'd worn away all feeling. "Marlowe Pharmaceuticals has contracts with dozens of developing countries. They, would offer to fund orphanages, children's homes. In exchange, they'd get access to clinical trials. Except the trials were never approved, never ethical. They were testing experimental drugs on kids as young as 3 years old. No consent, no oversight, no one to stop them." Noah felt sick. "And you knew about this?" "Not at first." Eva's laugh was bitter. "I was the CEO, but I wasn't paying attention. Too focused on stock prices and board meetings and all the meaningless bullshit. Then one of our researchers came to me, Dr. Sarah Chen. She showed me the files, the real files, not the sanitized versions the board saw. Pictures of children with adverse reactions, death certificates labeled as natural causes, payoffs to local officials." Eva's hands clenched around the case. "I tried to shut it down, quietly. I thought I could handle it internally. Fire the people responsible. Make amends. But they came for you first. The board, the investors. Turned out half of them knew about the trials. They'd been profiting from them for years." Eva's eyes met his, hollow and haunted. "They fabricated fraud charges. Made it look like I was stealing from the company. Then, when I tried to go public with the truth, they staged my death. Sent hired contractors after me. I've been running ever since." "For 2 years?" 2 years, 3 months, and 16 days. Eva took another sip of water. "I've been living in the cracks. Cheap motels, abandoned buildings, always moving, never staying anywhere long enough to leave a trace." She gestured to the drive. "This is the only copy of the real files. Chen was killed before she could upload them. I've been trying to find someone I can trust, a journalist, a lawyer, someone, but they've got eyes everywhere. The moment I surface, they know." Noah processed this, his mind clicking through possibilities. "If what you're saying is true, it's true. Then we need to get this to the authorities, FBI, Justice Department, hell, the media. And they'll shut it down before it goes public." Eva shook her head. "Do you know how much money Marlowe Pharmaceuticals has? How many politicians they own? They'll bury it, bury me, and anyone who helps me." Her eyes bored into him. "That's why I told you to walk away. Because the moment you picked me up, you became a target." "So what's your plan?" Noah demanded. "Keep running forever? Let them keep testing on kids because you're too scared to fight back?" "I'm not scared," Eva snapped. "I'm being realistic. One woman with a hard drive versus a multi-billion-dollar corporation? I can't win that fight." "Not alone you can't." Eva studied him, something shifting in her expression. "You're either very brave or very stupid." "I'm a father." Noah crossed his arms. "And if someone's hurting kids, I don't get the luxury of walking away." Silence stretched between them. Outside, birds were starting to sing, the morning sounds of a world that didn't know about hidden drives and dead researchers and children used as test subjects. Finally, Eva spoke. "There might be a way. One person who could help, if she's still alive." She pulled out the burner phone, staring at its cracked screen. Rachel Keene. She was an attorney who specialized in whistleblower cases. Took on pharmaceutical companies, defense contractors, anyone who thought they were too big to fail. If I could reach her, do it. Noah pulled out his own phone. "Use mine. It's secure." Eva hesitated, then took the phone. Her fingers moved slowly over the screen, pulling up a search engine, typing in a name. Her face went pale. "She's dead," Eva whispered. "Car accident. 3 weeks ago." She looked up at Noah, and for the first time he saw something break in her eyes. "They're killing everyone. everyone who might help, everyone who knows. Noah felt cold spread through his chest. This wasn't just corporate corruption. This was something bigger, something that killed cleanly and called it accidents. There has to be someone else, he said. There isn't. Eva handed back the phone, her hands shaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You should have left me on that road. Now your daughter. Her voice cracked. I won't let them hurt her. I'll leave. Tonight. They won't know you helped me. You can go back to your life. It's too late for that. Noah's voice was firm. You said it yourself. June saw you. If they're watching, if they're tracking, they already know I stopped. Running now doesn't change that. It just means we both die separately instead of fighting together. You don't understand who you're up against. Then tell me. Noah pulled up a crate and sat down, his eyes never leaving hers. Tell me everything. Names, faces, who's hunting you, how they operate. Because if we're going to survive this, if my daughter is going to survive this, I need to know what we're fighting. Eva stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly, she began to talk. She told him about the board members who'd voted to continue the trials, about Clyde Rennox, the VP who'd taken over as acting CEO after her death, a man with connections to private military contractors and offshore accounts that made him untouchable, about the researchers who'd disappeared, the witnesses who'd had sudden accidents, the trail of bodies that led back to Marlowe Pharmaceuticals like breadcrumbs soaked in blood. She told him about the night they'd tried to kill her, how she'd been aboard a friend's yacht off the California coast when men in tactical gear had stormed the boat, how she'd jumped overboard, swimming for shore in the darkness while they set fire to the yacht behind her, how she'd watched from the cliffs as it burned, knowing the world would think she'd died in the flames. She told him about the months that followed, sleeping in cars, stealing food, always looking over her shoulder, the drive hidden in a waterproof case, buried and reburied, the only thing keeping her alive because as long as she had it, she had leverage. By the time she finished, the sun was high overhead, streaming through the cracks in the shed's walls and dusty columns. Noah sat in silence, absorbing it all. Then he asked the only question that mattered. How do we stop them? Eva laughed, but there was no humor in it. We can't. Not with just a drive and desperation. Then we make allies. Noah stood, pacing the small shed. His mind was working now, slipping back into tactical mode. You said Keene was dead. Fine. But there are other attorneys, other investigators. We find someone they haven't gotten to yet. They'll be watching for that. Then we don't go to the obvious choices. We go underground. Dark web forums. Anonymous tips to investigative journalists. Multiple angles of attack so they can't plug all the holes. Noah turned to face her. You've been running for 2 years, trying to survive. Now it's time to fight back. Something flickered in Eva's eyes, a spark that might have been hope or might have been the last embers of fury. You really think we can win? I think if we don't try, those kids don't stand a chance. Noah held out his hand. I'm in, all the way, but I need to know you're in too. No more running, no more hiding. We see this through to the end. Eva looked at his hand for a long moment. Then she reached out and shook it. Okay, she said quietly. Let's burn it all down. Noah spent the rest of the day fortifying the shed. He brought in supplies from the workshop, a space heater, blankets, bottles of water, canned food, a first aid kit to treat Eva's injuries, though she waved away most of his attempts to help, insisting the cuts weren't as bad as they looked. I've had worse, she said, wrapping gauze around her feet. When? 3 months ago, Mexico. They cornered me in a warehouse. I got out through a ventilation shaft, lost half the skin on my back. Eva's voice was matter-of-fact. After a while, you stop feeling pain the same way. It just becomes information. Noah said nothing. He'd seen that same deadness in soldiers who'd been at war too long. The way violence became routine. The way survival became the only goal. By the time he had to leave to pick up June, the shed almost looked livable. Eva had even managed a small smile when Noah brought in an old camping lantern. Thank you, she said quietly. For this. For not leaving me. We're not done yet. Noah checked his watch. I'll be back in an hour. Lock the door after me. Don't open it for anyone. I won't. The drive to June's school felt surreal, like stepping between two worlds, one where he was fighting shadowy corporations and harboring fugitives, and one where his biggest concern was making sure his daughter had clean clothes and remembered her homework. June was waiting outside when he arrived, her backpack dragging on the ground. She climbed into the truck, unusually quiet. How was school? Noah asked as they pulled away. Fine, June fidgeted with her seatbelt. Daddy, is the lady still at our house? She's somewhere safe, Noah said carefully. Why? Because there was a man today, in a black car. He was watching the school. Noah's blood went cold. What kind of man? I don't know. He had sunglasses, and he was looking at all the kids when we came out. June's voice was small. Miss Clara said he was probably just a parent, but I didn't like him. Noah's hands tightened on the wheel. It could have been nothing. Windermere was a small town. Strangers stood out. But after everything Eva had told him, after the warning about them watching everywhere, he couldn't afford to assume coincidence. Did he follow you? Noah asked, keeping his voice calm. I don't know. Miss Clara walked us to the car line. Okay, that's good. Noah glanced in the rearview mirror. The road behind them was empty. June, remember what I said this morning about keeping secrets? About the lady? Yeah, it's really, really important that we don't tell anyone about her. Not even if someone asks, especially if someone asks. Noah met his daughter's eyes in the mirror. If anyone, a stranger, someone at school, anyone, starts asking you questions about what you saw this morning, or about me, or about where we live, you tell them you don't know, and you come find me immediately. Understand? June nodded slowly, her face serious. Are we in danger? God, Noah hated this. Hated dragging his 6-year-old daughter into something dark and violent, but lying to her now would only make things worse. Maybe, he said honestly, but I'm going to keep you safe, June, no matter what. You trust me, right? Always. Then trust me now. And if anything feels wrong, if anyone scares you, you run, you hide, and you call me. Noah handed her his cell phone. Keep this with you. If you need me, press here and here. I'll come running. June took the phone, clutching it like a lifeline. Okay, Daddy. They didn't go home. Instead, Noah drove to a friend's house, Marcus Doyle, a retired cop who lived on a farm outside town. Marcus was the only person from Noah's old life he'd stayed in touch with, the only one who knew enough about what Noah had done before to not ask too many questions. Marcus met them at the door, a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Noah, wasn't expecting you. I know. I need a favor. Noah glanced at June, who was clutching her rabbit. Can June stay here for a few hours? I have something I need to handle. Marcus looked between them, reading the tension, the fear Noah was trying to hide. Everything okay? Not really. Then get inside, both of you. Marcus stepped back, holding the door wide. His living room was cluttered with books and old case files, the walls covered in photos from his days on the force. June, sweetheart, my dog just had puppies. You want to see them? June's eyes lit up. Really? Really? They're in the kitchen. Go on. June ran off, her fear momentarily forgotten. Marcus waited until she was out of earshot, then turned to Noah. Talk. Noah told him. Not everything, not about Eva's identity yet, but enough. About finding a woman on the road, about her being hunted, about the black car at June's school. Marcus listened without interrupting, his cop face firmly in place. When Noah finished, Marcus let out a long breath. You're in deep shit, he said flatly. I know. And you're not going to walk away. Can't. Marcus studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right. June can stay here as long as you need. My house is off-grid enough that most people don't even know it exists. If anyone comes looking, they'll have to go through me first. Relief flooded through Noah. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're going to owe me the full story eventually. Marcus walked to a cabinet and pulled out a handgun, checking the magazine before handing it to Noah. Take this. And Noah, whatever you're mixed up in, be smart. You've got a little girl who needs her father. I know. Noah took the gun, the weight familiar and terrible. I know. Matan. By the time Noah returned to the shed, night had fallen. He found Eva sitting in the dim lantern light, the laptop open despite its cracked screen, her fingers flying over the keyboard. I got it working, she said without looking up. Battery's almost dead, but I managed to pull some files from the drive. Names, dates, transaction records. She finally met his eyes. Noah, this is worse than I thought. The trials aren't just in developing countries anymore. They've moved operations to the U.S., foster homes in rural areas, facilities for troubled teens, places where kids disappear and no one asks questions. Noah felt sick. Where? Everywhere. Montana, Oregon, Nevada. Eva turned the screen so he could see, spreadsheets filled with names, ages, dates of admission. There's a facility 2 hours from here, Silver Pines Youth Center. They've been running trials there for 18 months. We need to shut it down. We need to expose all of it. Eva's voice was hard. Shutting down one facility doesn't stop them. They'll just relocate. Open new sites under different names. We need to go public with everything. How? Eva pulled up another file, a list of journalists, investigators, attorneys. Half of them had dates next to their names, dates of death or disappearance. These are people I tried to contact, Eva said quietly. All dead or missing, except 3. She highlighted 3 names. Sarah Mitchell, investigative journalist with the Washington Post. David Chen, no relation to Dr. Chen, former FBI agent turned private investigator. And Marcus, she stopped. Wait, Marcus Doyle, retired cop, lives in Windermere, Oregon. Noah's stomach dropped. That's my friend, the one watching June right now. Eva's eyes widened. He's on my list. I was going to try contacting him 2 years ago, but I ran out of time. He worked organized crime in Portland, had a reputation for being incorruptible. If he's still alive, he is. And he's already helping us. Noah's mind raced. That's 2 assets. We need the 3rd. Sarah Mitchell is in D.C., protected. Always travels with security after someone tried to run her off the road last year. Eva closed the laptop. If we can get this drive to her, she'll publish. I'm sure of it. But getting to D.C. means exposing ourselves. They'll be watching airports, bus stations, trains. Then we don't go to her. We make her come to us. Noah was already formulating a plan. We leak something, just enough to get her attention. Make it look like a credible tip from an anonymous source. Once she's interested, we offer an exclusive. The CEO, who came back from the dead with proof of corporate murder. That puts a target on her. She already has one. At least this way, she'll have the story to protect her. Noah met Eva's gaze. The moment this goes public, you're safe. They can't kill you without proving you were right. It would be the biggest own goal in corporate history. Eva considered this, then nodded slowly. Okay, but we need insurance. Multiple copies of the drive, sent to different people. So even if something happens to the original, it still gets out. Noah pulled out his phone. I know someone who can help with that. Old military contact, runs a secure data facility. We send him an encrypted copy with instructions to release it if we don't check in. Dead man switch. Exactly. They spent the next hour planning. Noah made calls, speaking in careful code, setting up the pieces. Eva drafted messages to Sarah Mitchell, crafting a narrative that would be impossible to ignore. By midnight, the first email was sent. An anonymous tip to the Washington Post about illegal drug trials targeting orphans, signed only with coordinates pointing to the Silver Pines facility. Now we wait, Eva said, closing the laptop. Now we prepare. Noah stood, his body aching with exhaustion. If they trace that message, if they figure out where it came from, they'll come. And when they do, we need to be ready. Eva looked up at him, something unreadable in her expression. Why are you doing this? Really? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. You could have left June with Marcus and disappeared. Started over somewhere else. Noah was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, When I was in Afghanistan, there was a mission. We were supposed to secure a village before it got hit by insurgents. Simple in and out. Except we got there too late. The insurgents had already come through. He swallowed hard. There were kids, families, all dead. And I remember thinking, if we'd moved faster, if we'd pushed harder, maybe we could have saved them. Maybe our decisions, our hesitation, killed them. That wasn't your fault. Maybe not. But it taught me something. You don't get to walk away from people who need help. Not if you want to live with yourself after. Noah met her eyes. Those kids in those facilities? They're waiting for someone to move fast enough, push hard enough. I'm not walking away. Tears slipped down Ava's cheeks, the first emotion Noah had seen her show beyond fear and determination. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. We've still got to survive. Outside, the night was silent except for the distant sound of waves against the cliffs. Noah locked the shed door, checked the windows, made sure Eva was as secure as he could make her. Then he drove back to Marcus's house, where June was asleep on the couch, a puppy curled in her arms. Marcus looked up from his coffee. She's a good kid. She is. Whatever you're planning, Noah, be careful. I've seen good people go down trying to fight systems bigger than themselves. Then I guess I'd better not go down. Noah gently lifted June, cradling her against his chest. She stirred but didn't wake. Thanks for watching her. Anytime. And Noah? Marcus's voice stopped him at the door. I meant what I said earlier. You need help, you call. I've still got some pull with people who matter. I will. Noah carried June out to the truck, settling her in the back seat. As he drove home through the dark streets of Windmere, he thought about Eva's words. I've already killed you both. Maybe she had. Maybe the moment he'd stopped on that foggy road, he'd signed their death warrants. But he'd also given them something else, a chance to fight back, a chance to make the truth matter. And in the end, that had to be worth the risk. The email reached Sarah Mitchell's inbox at 6:47 a.m. Eastern Time, just as she was pouring her second cup of coffee in the Washington Post newsroom. The subject line was simple. Children are dying. You're the only one who can stop it. Mitchell almost deleted it. Her inbox received dozens of similar messages every day, conspiracy theorists and attention seekers who saw dark plots in every shadow. But something made her pause. Maybe it was the coordinates in the body of the email, precise GPS numbers pointing to a location in rural Montana. Maybe it was the single attached photograph, a spreadsheet showing names, ages, and clinical trial codes, stamped with the Marlowe Pharmaceuticals logo. Or maybe it was the final line. Dr. Sarah Chen tried to tell this story. They killed her for it. Don't let her death be meaningless. Mitchell set down her coffee and opened the attachment. 2,000 miles away, in the cramped storage shed behind Noah's workshop, Eva Marlowe watched the laptop screen with hollow eyes. She'd barely slept, kept awake by phantom sounds, footsteps that weren't there, engines that might have been the wind, the constant fear that every creak of settling wood was the door being kicked in. She opened it, Eva said quietly, as Noah entered carrying a paper bag of breakfast sandwiches and fresh coffee from the diner in town. Mitchell opened the email 4 minutes ago. She's been on the attachment ever since. That's good, right? Noah set the food down, noting the exhaustion carved into Eva's face. When had she last slept more than an hour at a time? It's a start. Doesn't mean she'll bite. Eva closed the laptop, accepting the coffee Noah offered with hands that still trembled slightly. Investigative journalists get tips constantly. Most of them lead nowhere. She'll need more than a spreadsheet and coordinates to run a story this big. Then we give her more. Noah unwrapped his sandwich but didn't eat, his mind already working through the next steps. You said there are 3 facilities currently running trials in the U.S.? 4, as of last month. Silver Pines in Montana, Clearwater Center in Nevada, Horizon House in rural Oregon, and a new one called Haven's Rest in eastern Washington. Eva pulled up a map on the laptop, marking each location. They're all in isolated areas, towns with populations under 5,000, places where a few extra kids coming and going don't raise questions. Horizon House is in Oregon? About 90 miles from here, near the Idaho border. Eva zoomed in on the map. It was a juvenile detention center that got shut down for abuse allegations 10 years ago. Marlowe Pharmaceuticals bought it through a shell company, renovated it, reopened it as a therapeutic boarding school for troubled teens. Except the therapy involves experimental psychotropic drugs that haven't been approved for adult use, let alone children. Noah felt rage coil in his gut, cold and focused. How many kids? Last count, 43, ages 12 to 17, all from foster care or court-ordered placements, all with files that make them easy to discredit if they try to speak out. Eva's voice was clinical, detached, but Noah could see the pain beneath it. Runaways, drug users, kids with behavioral problems. The kind of children society has already failed. The kind no one listens to. Someone needs to listen. That's why we're doing this. Eva finally took a bite of her sandwich, chewing mechanically. If Mitchell takes the bait, if she starts investigating, Marlowe's people will know. They'll start covering tracks, moving evidence, possibly relocating the kids. We need to move faster than they can adapt. What about your contact? Chen, the private investigator? David Chen. No relation to Dr. Sarah Chen, but he knew her. Worked on some of her early findings before she was killed. Eva pulled up another file, this one showing a middle-aged Asian man with graying hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. He's been investigating Marlowe independently for 18 months. Has his own evidence, but nothing concrete enough to take to authorities. If we pool our resources, we might have enough to make a case that sticks. Noah nodded. Can you reach him? I can try. Last I knew, he was working out of Seattle, but that was 6 months ago. He might have moved, or... Eva didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. They both knew the odds of Chen still being alive decreased with every month that passed. Noah's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Black sedan drove past my place twice this morning. Oregon plates. Didn't stop but slowed down both times. Might be nothing. Might be something. June's safe. Keeping her home from school today. Noah showed the message to Eva, watching her face go pale. They're searching, she whispered. Looking for unusual activity. A retired cop in a small town suddenly keeping a child home from school. It's a pattern break. Something their algorithms would flag. Algorithms? Marlowe has access to data mining software, social media monitoring, financial transactions, cell phone records. They've been tracking anyone who might be helping me for 2 years. If Marcus is on their radar, Eva's hands clenched. We need to get June out of here, out of Oregon entirely, somewhere they can't find her. I'm not sending my daughter away. Then you're sentencing her to death. Eva's voice cracked. Noah, you don't understand how they operate. They won't just kill you. They'll make it hurt. They'll take everything you love and destroy it in front of you as a lesson to anyone else who thinks about crossing them. I understand perfectly. Noah's voice was steel. I also understand that running makes us look guilty. Makes us look like we have something to hide. If we start acting scared, start moving pieces in panic, we confirm their suspicions. But if we stay calm, maintain routines, act like nothing's changed, they'll keep watching, keep waiting for us to slip up. Maybe. Or maybe they'll decide they're chasing shadows. Noah pulled out his phone, dialing Marcus. I need you to take June somewhere public today. The library, the park. Somewhere with cameras and witnesses. Make it look normal, routine. Can you do that? Marcus's voice came through clear and steady. You sure that's smart? Putting her out in the open? Safer than hiding. If they wanted to grab her, they would have done it already. Right now, they're fishing, trying to find a connection between a fugitive CEO and a retired cop in Windmere. We don't give them one. All right, but Noah, if this goes sideways, if I see anything that looks wrong, I'm pulling her out and going dark. You won't hear from us until it's safe. Deal. Noah ended the call and turned back to Eva. Now, about Chen. How do we contact him without lighting up every monitoring system Marlowe has? Eva was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she opened the laptop again, fingers flying over the keyboard. Dark Web Forum. There's a community of whistleblowers, investigative journalists, people trying to expose corporate corruption. Chen monitors it under an alias. If I post in the right place, use the right keywords, he'll see it. And so will Marlowe. Not if I'm careful. The forum uses encryption, onion routing. It'll take them days to crack it, and by then the message will be buried under thousands of other posts. Eva's eyes met Noah's. It's a risk, but everything we do from here is a risk. Then do it. Eva's fingers moved with practiced efficiency, accessing networks Noah didn't even know existed. Within minutes, she'd posted a message. Looking for a Chen who knew a Chen. Have information about trials. Need to compare notes. Reply with the name of the doctor who started this. If it's really him, he'll know to answer Sarah, Eva explained. If it's Marlowe trying to trap us, they'll guess wrong, or they won't answer at all. How long until we know? Could be hours, could be days. Chen's careful. He won't respond immediately, even if he sees it. Eva closed the laptop, exhaustion finally catching up with her. We should rest while we can. Once things start moving, we won't have time to sleep. Noah wanted to argue, wanted to keep planning, keep moving forward, but Eva was right. They were both running on fumes and fear, and eventually that would lead to mistakes. Mistakes got people killed. I'll keep watch, Noah said. You sleep. Noah, that wasn't a request. His voice softened. You've been running for 2 years. You're safe right now, at least for a few hours. Let yourself rest. Eva looked like she wanted to fight, but her body betrayed her, swaying slightly where she sat. Finally, she nodded, moving to the cot in the corner. Within minutes, she was asleep, her breathing deep and even for the first time since Noah had found her. Noah settled into a chair by the door, Marcus's gun resting in his lap, his mind refusing to quiet. He thought about June, wondered if she was scared, if she understood the danger they were in. He thought about the kids in those facilities, suffering through trials that would never be approved, their pain reduced to data points in spreadsheets. He thought about Dr. Sarah Chen, who'd tried to stop it and paid with her life. And he thought about Eva's question from the night before. Why are you doing this? The truth was more complicated than the answer he'd given. Yes, he believed in helping people. Yes, his military service had taught him you don't abandon those in need. But there was something else, something darker he didn't like to examine too closely. Guilt. Not just about Afghanistan, about the village they'd reached too late, but about all of it. Every mission where orders came down from people who'd never held a rifle, never seen what their decisions looked like up close. Every time he'd followed those orders because it was easier than asking questions. Every moment he'd chosen duty over conscience. He'd left the service promising himself he'd never again be complicit in someone else's evil. He'd taken the coward's way out, retreating to a small town, keeping his head down, raising his daughter in quiet isolation where the world's problems couldn't touch them. But the world had found them anyway, in the form of a terrified woman on a foggy road, and this time Noah wasn't walking away. His phone buzzed. Another message from Marcus, this one with a photo attached. June at the library, sitting cross-legged in the children's section, surrounded by books, her face peaceful and unafraid. The caption read, "All good here. No tales, no watchers. Just a kid enjoying story time." Noah felt something in his chest loosen. At least June was safe, at least for now. The day crept forward with agonizing slowness. Eva slept fitfully, occasionally crying out in her sleep, fragments of sentences Noah couldn't quite make out, names that might have been people she'd lost or people who'd betrayed her. He didn't wake her. Whatever nightmares she was fighting, they were probably gentler than her reality. Around noon, the laptop chimed softly. Noah moved to it carefully, not wanting to disturb Eva, and opened the screen. A new message in the dark web form. Sarah. Where and when? Noah's heart hammered. He glanced at Eva, still asleep, then made a decision. He typed a response. Windermere, Oregon. Coordinates to follow. Come alone. Bring everything you have. The reply came within seconds. How do I know this isn't a trap? Noah thought for a moment, then typed. You don't. But the person you're looking for has been dead for 2 years. Now she's not. Decide if that's worth the risk. A longer pause this time. Then, 48 hours. I'll be there. Noah closed the laptop, his pulse racing. They had 48 hours to prepare. 48 hours before David Chen arrived and they'd have to trust a stranger with their lives. 48 hours before everything either came together or fell apart completely. Eva stirred, her eyes opening slowly. For just a moment, she looked peaceful, almost young. The woman she might have been if her life hadn't been consumed by corporate murder and 2 years of running. Then awareness returned, and with it the weight she carried. What time is it? Her voice was rough with sleep. Just past noon. You've been out for 3 hours. Noah helped her sit up. And we have a problem, or maybe an opportunity. Chen responded, He's coming here in 2 days. Eva was instantly alert. You contacted him without asking me? You were asleep. He replied to your message. I made a call. Noah held her gaze. We don't have time for committee decisions, Eva. We move fast or we don't move at all. What did you tell him? That the person he's been looking for isn't dead, that we have evidence, that he should come alone. Noah paused. Was that wrong? Eva was quiet, processing. Then she shook her head slowly. No, it was right. Chen's good people. If anyone can help us make sense of what we have, it's him. She stood, wobbling slightly, and Noah steadied her. But 2 days isn't much time. If Chen found the message, Marlowe's people might find it too. They could be on their way here right now. Then we prepare for that possibility. Noah moved to the shed's small window, peering out at the overgrown yard beyond. This shed is defensible. Stone foundation, reinforced walls, only one entrance. If they come, we can hold them off long enough for help to arrive. Help from who? The police? Eva's laugh was bitter. Marlowe owns half the sheriff's departments in rural America. The moment we call for help, they'll know exactly where we are. Not the sheriff, Marcus. He's got contacts, federal people, agents who owe him favors. If we're smart, if we time it right, we can have backup in place before we need it. And if we're not smart, then we fight, and we make damn sure that even if they kill us, the truth still gets out. Noah pulled the titanium case from his pocket, the one holding the solid-state drive. You said you needed insurance, multiple copies, dead man switches. We spend the next 48 hours building that insurance. Eva stared at the case, then at Noah. Something shifted in her expression, a mixture of respect and surprise, and something that might have been hope. You're actually serious about this, about fighting them. I told you I was. People say a lot of things. Doesn't mean they follow through. Eva took the case, turning it over in her hands. But you're not going to back down, are you? Even if it costs you everything. I've already lost everything once. When June's mother died, I thought the world had ended. I spent months in a dark place, wondering if it was worth getting up in the morning. Noah's voice was quiet but firm. Then one day, June asked me to read her a story, and I realized I could either spend the rest of my life mourning what I'd lost, or I could fight to protect what I still had. I chose to fight. I've been choosing it every day since. This is different. This isn't grief. This is evil. I know. Noah met her eyes, which is exactly why we can't let it win. They spent the afternoon methodically building their defenses. Noah made copies of the drive's contents, encrypting them and sending them to 3 different secure locations, one to his military contact, one to a lawyer Marcus recommended, one uploaded to a cloud server with instructions to release everything if Noah failed to check in for 72 hours. Eva drafted detailed documents explaining everything she knew, the names of board members involved, the locations of the facilities, the financial trails that led back to Marlowe Pharmaceuticals. She wrote it as if testifying in court, precise and unflinching, holding nothing back. By the time the sun began to set, they had a strategy. When Chen arrived, they'd combine their evidence, create a comprehensive case that could withstand scrutiny. Then they'd leak it simultaneously to Sarah Mitchell, federal investigators, and a dozen other news outlets. Marlowe could try to suppress one story, maybe 2, but not 20. Not if they timed it perfectly. There's still one problem, Eva said as they ate a simple dinner of canned soup and crackers. The kids currently in those facilities. The moment our story breaks, Marlowe will try to erase the evidence. That means the children. Noah's blood ran cold. They'd kill kids to cover this up? They've been doing it for years. What's 40 more deaths to them? Eva's voice was hollow. They'll stage accidents, fires, bus crashes, anything that looks plausible. By the time investigators get there, the bodies will be too damaged to show signs of the drugs in their systems. Then we evacuate them first. How? We can't just walk into 4 secure facilities and demand they release the kids. We don't have authority. We don't have warrants. No, but we have the truth. And we have people who might listen. Noah pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts. Marcus knows people. Federal agents, state investigators. If we can get them the evidence before we go public, get them to coordinate raids on all 4 facilities simultaneously. It would have to be perfect timing. One facility gets raided early, the others get a warning, and the kids disappear. Eva rubbed her temples. It's possible, barely. But we'd need Chen's evidence too, something concrete enough to justify emergency raids without warrants. Then that's what we get from him when he arrives. Noah checked his watch. 47 hours. We can make this work. Eva looked at him across the dim lantern light, her bruised face thoughtful. You know, when I first saw you on that road, I thought you were just another good Samaritan, someone who'd help for a day, maybe a week, then realize the cost was too high, and walk away. And now? Now I think you might actually be crazy enough to pull this off. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Or get us both killed trying. I'll take those odds. They fell into silence, the weight of the coming days settling over them. Outside, night sounds filled the air, crickets and distant waves, the wind moving through trees, the world continuing on, oblivious to the storm about to break. Noah's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. June's asleep. Had a good day. No problems. But Noah saw the same black sedan again, this time parked 2 blocks from the library. Didn't stay long. Might be coincidence. Wanted you to know. Noah showed the message to Eva. She read it twice, her jaw tightening. They're narrowing the search, she said quietly. Probably running facial recognition on library cameras, cross-referencing everyone who was there. When they connect Marcus to you, when they realize you live in Windmere and stopped on that road the same day I disappeared from their surveillance. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. How long do we have? Days? Maybe hours if they're faster than I think. Eva stood, pacing the small shed. We need to move up the timeline. Get Chen here sooner. Get the evidence to authorities now, not in 2 days. If we rush it, if we're not thorough, they'll poke holes in our story. Discredit us. Make it look like a conspiracy theory. If we wait, they'll kill us before we can tell the story at all. Noah wanted to argue, wanted to believe they had more time. But Eva was right. The black sedan, the surveillance, the careful, methodical way Marlowe's people were closing in. They were running out of time. All right, Noah said, making the decision. We contact Chen again, tell him we need him here tomorrow, not in 2 days. We contact Marcus, tell him to start reaching out to his federal contacts now. And we pray that we're fast enough. Eva nodded, already moving to the laptop. Her fingers flew over the keys, typing another message into the encrypted forum. Noah watched her work, admiring her focus, her refusal to break even after 2 years of hell. Can I ask you something? Noah said. Eva didn't look up. Depends on the question. Why didn't you just release the evidence 2 years ago, when you first had it? Why run instead of going public immediately? Eva's fingers stilled. For a long moment she didn't answer. Then, because I was scared, and because I thought I could handle it myself. Keep it internal. Protect the company my father built. Her voice went soft. My father founded Marlowe Pharmaceuticals 40 years ago. He started it because his sister died from a disease that had no treatment, no cure. He wanted to help people, save lives. And for decades, that's what we did. We made real medicines that helped real people. Then he died, and I took over, and... She trailed off. And you were too busy being CEO to notice what was happening. I was too arrogant to believe it could happen under my watch, too convinced that good intentions were enough. Eva finally looked at him, tears tracking down her cheeks. By the time I realized how deep the corruption went, I was already complicit. I'd signed off on budgets I hadn't read, approved projects I hadn't vetted. I'd let my father's company become something evil, and part of me thought if I could fix it quietly, I could redeem it, save his legacy. That's not how evil works. I know that now, but 2 years ago I was naive enough to think I could negotiate with monsters, that I could make a deal. They'd stop the trials, compensate the victims, and in exchange I wouldn't go public. I actually believed they'd agree. Eva's laugh was broken. Instead, they tried to kill me, and they've been trying ever since. Noah moved closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. You survived. You kept the evidence safe. and now we're going to use it to burn them to the ground. That's redemption enough. Is it? How many kids died while I was running? How many more got poisoned, got scarred, got... Her voice cracked. How is that redemption? Because you're still fighting. Because you didn't give up. Because when it mattered, you chose the truth over your own safety. Noah squeezed her shoulder gently. That's what heroes do, Eva. They don't win every battle. They just refuse to stop fighting. Eva wiped her eyes, composing herself. I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who's trying to fix what she broke. That's the same thing. Before Eva could respond, the laptop chimed. A new message in the forum. Can be there in 12 hours. Send exact coordinates, and pray this isn't a mistake. Eva and Noah exchanged glances. 12 hours. Less than half the time they'd planned for. It would have to be enough. Eva typed rapidly, sending Chen the GPS coordinates for the workshop along with instructions. Come alone. Park 2 miles away. Approach on foot. Trust no one. Now we wait, Eva said, closing the laptop. Now we prepare, Noah corrected. He stood, moving to the corner where he'd stashed supplies. A camping stove, emergency rations, extra ammunition for Marcus's gun. If Chen's coming in 12 hours, that means dawn. Marlowe's people will be watching for unusual activity. We need to make sure no one sees him arrive. I should meet him away from here, somewhere public, less risk to you and June. We're past worrying about risk. Noah checked the gun's magazine, his movements automatic, muscle memory from thousands of drills. Besides, I'm not letting you walk into a meeting with a stranger alone. For all we know, Marlowe got to Chen months ago. This could be a trap. You're paranoid. You're not paranoid enough. Noah's voice was firm. We do this together or not at all? Eva studied him for a long moment, then nodded. All right. Together. But if things go wrong, if Chen is compromised, if Marlowe's people show up, you run. You take June and Marcus and you disappear. Don't try to save me. Just get the evidence out. Not happening. Noah, I said not happening. Noah met her eyes, his voice steel. I don't leave people behind. Not anymore. We survive together or we don't survive at all. Those are the only two options. Before Eva could argue further, Noah's phone rang. Marcus. Noah answered immediately. What's wrong? Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Marcus's voice was tense. The black sedan came back. Third time in 6 hours. This time it stopped right in front of my house. Driver got out, walked up my driveway, looked around, didn't knock, didn't approach the door, just looked, then got back in his car and left. Noah's grip tightened on the phone. Did you get a look at him? White male, late 30s, military haircut, professional, had an earpiece. This wasn't some lost tourist, Noah. This was a contractor doing reconnaissance. Is June? She's fine, still asleep, didn't see anything. Marcus paused. But Noah, they're not being subtle anymore. They wanted me to know they were there, wanted me to know they're watching, which means they're close to confirming their suspicions. Once they do, they'll stop watching and start acting. Noah's mind raced. I need you to get June out of there, tonight, right now. Where? Anywhere that's not connected to us. A motel under a fake name. A friend's house in another town. Just somewhere off the grid where they won't think to look. What about you? I'm seeing this through. Noah glanced at Eva, who was watching with wide eyes. But I need to know June's safe first. Can you do that for me, Marcus? Consider it done. I've got a cabin up in the mountains. No cell service, no internet, nothing. Bought it under my brother's name years ago. Even if they dig into my records, they won't find it. Marcus's voice softened. But Noah, once I take June there, I can't help you with whatever you're planning. It'll be just you and whoever else you've got. That's enough. Just keep my daughter safe. That's all I need. You've got my word. And Noah, when this is over, you'd better still be alive to pick her up. That little girl needs her father. I know. Noah's throat tightened. Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm fighting for something important, that I'm trying to make the world better for kids like her. I'll tell her. Now go do what you need to do. And watch your 6. The line went dead. Noah stood frozen for a moment, feeling the weight of what he'd just done. He was sending his daughter away, possibly for the last time. If things went wrong, if Marlowe's people found them first, June might never know what happened to her father. She'd grow up with questions, with a hole where explanations should be. But she'd be alive. And in the end, that was all that mattered. "I'm sorry," Eva whispered. "I'm so sorry I brought this to your door." "You didn't bring anything." "I chose this." Noah straightened, pushing down the fear, the doubt, the terror of a father saying goodbye to his child. "And I'd choose it again. Now come on. We've got 12 hours to prepare, and I'm not wasting a second." They worked through the night, turning the shed into a fortress. Noah reinforced the door with steel bars scavenged from the workshop. He set up motion sensors around the perimeter, linking them to his phone so any approach would trigger an alert. He plotted escape routes, through the back wall if needed, through the floor if desperate, through the roof as a last resort. Eva organized the evidence, creating backup files of backup files, writing down everything she could remember in case the digital copies were somehow destroyed. She drafted emails to be sent automatically if they failed to stop the send command, insurance that even death wouldn't silence the truth. By the time dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, they were as ready as they'd ever be. Noah stood by the window, watching the morning fog roll in, thinking about June waking up in Marcus's mountain cabin, wondering where her father was. "He's here," Eva said quietly. Noah turned. She was watching the laptop where a new message had appeared. 2 miles out, approaching on foot as instructed. ETA 20 minutes. Could be him, could be a trap. Noah picked up the gun, checking it one more time. Either way, we're about to find out which. They moved outside together, staying low, using the overgrown brush as cover. Noah positioned himself where he had a clear view of the approach path while staying hidden. Eva crouched beside him, tense and ready to run. The minutes crawled past. Then, through the morning mist, a figure appeared. Male, Asian, mid-40s, wearing hiking gear that looked lived in and practical. He moved carefully, checking his surroundings every few steps, one hand inside his jacket where a weapon might be concealed. "That's him," Eva breathed. "That's David Chen." Noah studied the man, looking for signs this was a setup. But Chen was alone, and his body language was wrong for an ambush, too cautious, too exposed. If this was a trap, Chen was either an incredible actor or genuinely didn't know he was bait. Chen stopped about 50 feet from the shed, his eyes scanning the area. "I'm here as requested," he called out. "I'm going to reach into my jacket slowly. I'm pulling out identification. Don't shoot." His movements were deliberate, telegraphed. He produced a worn leather wallet, flipping it open to show a private investigator's license. David Chen, Seattle address. Photograph matched. "Now you," Chen said. "Show yourselves. Let's see if this is worth the risk I just took." Noah and Eva stood slowly, hands visible. Chen's eyes went wide when he saw Eva. "Holy shit," he whispered. "It's really you, Eva Marlowe. We all thought—" He trailed off, shaking his head in disbelief. "They said you died." They lied," Eva said simply, "and they've been trying to make it true ever since." Chen took a step forward, then stopped, professional caution reasserting itself. "I need to know this isn't a setup, that you're really who you appear to be, that you have what you claim to have." "The proof?" Eva pulled the titanium case from her pocket, holding it up. "Everything's on here. Dr. Sarah Chen's original research, financial records, communications between board members, evidence of 47 children who died during the trials and were listed as natural causes or accidents. Everything." Chen's face went pale at the mention of Sarah. "She was my sister," he said quietly. "Not just a colleague, my baby sister. And they killed her because she tried to do the right thing." "I know, I tried to save her. I tried to—" Eva's voice broke. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't stop them. But you kept her evidence. You ran for 2 years, kept it safe, kept yourself alive." Chen's voice was rough with emotion. "That's what she would have wanted, for the truth to survive, no matter the cost." He looked between Eva and Noah. "I'm in. Whatever you need. Whatever it takes. Let's destroy them." And as the three of them stood there in the morning mist, An unlikely alliance formed by tragedy and determination. Noah felt something he hadn't felt since finding Eva on that foggy road. Hope. Not the naive hope that everything would work out, but the fierce, defiant hope that comes from refusing to surrender, from standing up when falling down would be easier, from believing that truth and justice might, just this once, actually win. They had 12 hours until Sarah Mitchell would either break the story or dismiss it as fantasy. 12 hours until federal agents either raided those facilities or let another day of abuse continue. 12 hours until Marlowe Pharmaceuticals either fell or crushed them all. It wasn't much time, but it would have to be enough. They moved quickly into the shed, Chen's eyes adjusting to the dim interior as Noah sealed the door behind them. Eva was already at the laptop pulling up files while Chen set down a weathered backpack that looked like it had traveled through hell and back. "I've been building my own case for 18 months, Chen said, unzipping the pack and pulling out a tablet and 3 thick folders. Financial forensics, witness statements from former employees, medical records I shouldn't have but do. Sarah gave me copies of everything before she—" He stopped, swallowing hard. "Before they killed her. I've been trying to find someone who could help me use it, someone they hadn't already gotten to." "How many people have you lost?" Noah asked quietly. 12. Journalists, lawyers, one federal prosecutor who was actually interested in the case, all dead within 6 months of me making contact. Chen's jaw tightened. "Car accidents, mostly. 1 heart attack. 1 suicide that I know damn well wasn't suicide. Marlowe is methodical. They make it look clean." Eva spread her own files across the workbench, comparing them to Chen's. "The financial trails match. Look, here's a shell company registered in the Caymans. I tracked payments going out to Horizon House. And here," she pointed to one of Chen's documents, "you've got the receiving end, the exact amounts down to the dollar." "Which means our evidence corroborates," Chen said, a note of excitement creeping into his voice. "Independently gathered, impossible to dismiss as fabrication. If we can combine this, we can prove chain of custody, show systematic abuse spanning years." Eva's fingers flew over the keyboard. "But we need more than paper trails. We need testimony. Living victims who can speak to what happened in those facilities." "I have 3, Chen said. "Young adults now, all escaped from different facilities years ago. 2 are willing to testify. The 3rd is too traumatized, but she gave me a written statement." He pulled out more documents. Medical records showing the drugs in their systems. Scars from experimental procedures. One of them, Marcus, no relation to your Marcus. He's willing to go on camera. Tell the world what they did to him. Noah felt something cold settle in his gut. If he goes public, they'll kill him. He knows. He doesn't care. Chen's voice was soft. When you've been through what these kids have been through, sometimes being heard is worth more than being safe. Sometimes telling the truth is the only way to take your power back. Eva was quiet for a long moment, staring at the files. Then she said, "We need to move faster than I thought. If Chen found me, if he could track down witnesses, then Marlowe's people aren't far behind. They're probably already connecting the dots." As if summoned by her words, Noah's phone buzzed. Not a text this time. A call. Unknown number. Noah's instincts screamed not to answer, but something made him pause. He showed the screen to Eva and Chen. "Could be Mitchell," Eva said. "She might have traced the email, found a way to contact you." "Or it's them," Chen countered, "calling to see if you answer, to confirm you're real." Noah made a decision. He answered, putting it on speaker but saying nothing. A man's voice came through, smooth and cultured, with just a hint of steel underneath. "Mr. Redding, I believe you have something that belongs to me." Eva's face went white. She mouthed a single name, Clyde Rennox. "I don't know what you're talking about," Noah said carefully. "Please, let's not insult each other's intelligence." Papers rustled on the other end. "Noah Redding, 38 years old. Former Army Ranger, 3 tours in Afghanistan. Honorable discharge with a Purple Heart. Single father to June Redding, age 6, currently enrolled at Windmere Elementary. You run a small boat repair shop, keep to yourself, pay your taxes on time. By all accounts, a good man trying to live a quiet life." Noah's blood turned to ice. They knew about June. They'd researched him. They knew everything. Here's what I don't understand, Renix continued. Why would a man like you, a man with so much to lose, involve himself in something that doesn't concern him? Why risk everything for a woman you don't know? A woman who is, I might add, a fugitive from justice. I saw someone who needed help, Noah said, keeping his voice level. That's what good people do. Good people, yes, but smart people know when to mind their own business. Renix's tone hardened slightly. You've made a series of poor choices, Mr. Redding. Helping a fugitive, harboring evidence, conspiring with known troublemakers like Mr. Chen. But it's not too late to correct course. Chen's eyes narrowed. They knew he was here too, which meant they were watching, had been watching, maybe had cameras or bugs Noah hadn't found. What do you want? Noah asked. What I've always wanted. The return of stolen property. Ms. Marlowe has something that belongs to Marlowe Pharmaceuticals. A hard drive containing proprietary information. Industrial espionage is a serious crime, Mr. Redding. All I want is what's rightfully ours. And if I don't have what you're looking for, then I'll be very disappointed, and disappointed people sometimes make rash decisions. Renix paused for effect. Your daughter is quite charming, by the way. Pink backpack, stuffed rabbit. She seems very attached to that rabbit. Would be a shame if something happened to it, or to her. Rage flooded through Noah, white hot and blinding. Every instinct screamed to reach through the phone and tear Renix apart. But he forced himself to breathe, to think. Renix was baiting him, wanting him to react, wanting him to make a mistake. You touch my daughter, Noah said quietly, and there's no place on earth you can hide from me. Such dramatic threats, but unnecessary, I assure you. I'm a businessman, Mr. Redding. I prefer negotiation to violence, so here's my offer. You give me the drive, walk away from all this, and your daughter grows up with her father. You refuse, and Renix let the silence speak for itself. You have 24 hours to decide. I'll be in touch. The line went dead. The three of them stood frozen for a moment. Then Eva spoke, her voice shaking with fury. He knows about June. He knows about Chen. He probably knows exactly where we are right now. Then why call? Noah was thinking fast, pushing past his rage. Why negotiate if he could just send men to take us? Because he doesn't know where the drive is, Chen said slowly. Think about it. He knows you have it, or had it, but he doesn't know if you've already copied it, sent it somewhere. If he kills you before securing the original and all copies, the evidence could still surface. So he's stalling, trying to keep us in place while he figures out our moves. Eva pulled up a map on the laptop. We need to get out of here, now, before they... The motion sensor on Noah's phone pinged. Movement on the eastern approach. 3 figures moving through the brush in tactical formation. Too late, Noah said grimly. He grabbed the gun, checking the chamber. Chen, can you shoot? Well enough. Noah pulled a second pistol from his supply cache, his own service weapon, the one he'd kept after discharge, and handed it to Chen. Eva, get the drives. All of them. Put them in something waterproof. If things go bad, we run for the coast. There's a cave system in the cliffs. We can hide there. Noah, they'll have people at every exit, every road out of town. Eva's hand shook as she gathered the drives. We're surrounded. Not yet, we're not. They sent 3 men for reconnaissance. To confirm we're here, that we have what they want. They'll report back before making a move. That gives us a window. Noah moved to the window, watching the approaching figures. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. Chen was already packing his files into a waterproof bag. What's the play? Noah's mind raced through scenarios, tactics, possibilities. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and trapped. Every military instinct said they should surrender, negotiate, look for an opening later. But Rennox wouldn't negotiate in good faith. The moment he had the drive, he'd kill them all. Make it look like a tragic accident, gas leak maybe, or a fire that got out of control. Unless they changed the game entirely. We give them what they want, Noah said suddenly. Eva stared at him. What? Not the real drive, a decoy. We lead them into a trap, take them out, buy ourselves time to get the real evidence out. Noah was already moving, pulling supplies from shelves. Eva, how long to make a convincing fake? 5 minutes. Maybe less. The case is what they'll recognize, not the contents. Eva was already working, swapping the real drive for a dummy, making sure the weight felt right. But Noah, if we engage them, if we fight, people will die. Maybe us. People are already dying, kids in those facilities. Noah's voice was hard. We don't have the luxury of playing it safe anymore. We make a stand here, or we spend the rest of our short lives running. He's right, Chen said. My sister tried to be careful, tried to gather evidence slowly, build an airtight case. They killed her for it. Sometimes the only way to win is to hit first, hit hard, and make so much noise they can't cover it up. The motion sensor pinged again. The three figures were closer now, maybe 100 yards out. Noah could see them through the window, dressed in civilian clothes but moving with military precision. Contractors, not corporate security. Men who killed for money and didn't ask questions. All right, Eva said, her voice steadying. We fight, but not here. This shed is a death trap if they bring reinforcements. We need somewhere with more exits, more options. The old lakefront warehouse, Noah said immediately. It's been abandoned for 20 years, multiple levels, dozens of rooms, exits on all four sides. And it's public enough that gunfire will attract attention, force them to be quick, be sloppy. How do we get there without being followed? We don't. We let them follow us, lead them in. Noah pulled out his phone, texting Marcus. Code red. Execute contingency plan. Do not respond. To Chen and Eva, he said, we take my truck. Drive obvious routes. Make it look like we're panicking. They'll follow because they want the drive, and we're leading them exactly where we want them. Chen was skeptical. That warehouse has been condemned. Structurally unsound. If we're not careful, that's the point. We know the dangers. They don't. We use the terrain against them. Noah grabbed the decoy case, slipping it into his jacket. Eva, you keep the real drives. If this goes wrong, if I tell you to run, you run and you don't look back. Get to the coast, flag down a fishing boat, get to Seattle or Portland. Find another journalist. Finish this. Noah, that's not a request. You've been running for 2 years. You know how to survive. If I go down, you keep going. Noah's eyes locked on hers. Promise me. Eva's jaw worked. Then she nodded. I promise. The motion sensor pinged a third time. 50 yards now. They were out of time. Go, Noah commanded. They burst from the shed, running for the truck parked behind the workshop. Noah expected gunfire, expected shouts, but nothing came. The contractors were holding position, just watching, confirming targets before engaging. Good tactics, professional. It was going to make this so much harder. Noah gunned the engine, tires spitting gravel as they peeled out onto the access road. In the rear-view mirror, he saw the three figures running back toward the main road, toward wherever they'd parked their vehicle. A black SUV, probably. They always drove black SUVs. They're following, Chen confirmed, watching out the back window. Keeping distance. One vehicle. Good. Means they haven't called in backup yet. Noah took the turns fast, but not recklessly, making it look like they were fleeing in panic, but not so wild that it seemed like a trap. Eva, call Mitchell. Tell her everything. Even if she doesn't believe you, even if she thinks you're crazy, tell her where we'll be. Tell her if she wants the story of the decade, she needs to get federal agents to the lakefront warehouse in Windmere within the hour. Eva pulled out Noah's phone, searching for Mitchell's contact information. Her hand shook, but her voice was steady as the call connected. Sarah Mitchell? This is Eva Marlowe. That Eva Marlowe. I'm alive. I have proof Marlowe Pharmaceuticals has been testing experimental drugs on orphans. And in about 45 minutes, I'm either going to be dead or about to hand you evidence that will destroy a Fortune 500 company. Your choice whether you show up to find out which. She rattled off the address and hung up before Mitchell could respond. Think she'll come? Chen asked. Doesn't matter. Even if she doesn't believe it's really me, curiosity will eat at her. She'll make calls, check the address, and maybe, just maybe, she'll send someone to verify. Eva clutched the waterproof bag containing the real drives. It's better than nothing. The lakefront warehouse loomed ahead, a skeletal structure of rusted metal and broken concrete squatting on the edge of the old industrial district. The lake it had once serviced was long since drained, leaving only mudflats and reeds. No other buildings for half a mile in any direction, Isolated, dangerous, perfect. Noah parked the truck behind the warehouse, out of sight from the main approach. They climbed out, Chen and Eva following as Noah tested the rusted door. It groaned but opened, revealing a cavernous interior lit by shafts of sunlight streaming through holes in the roof. Chen, take the east side, find high ground. You're our lookout and backup. Noah handed him extra ammunition. You see more than 5 hostiles, you signal and we abort. We're not trying to win a war here, just buy time. Chen nodded, disappearing into the shadows. Noah turned to Eva. You're with me. We set up on the main floor. Make it look like we're trying to hide but doing a bad job of it. When they come in, Wait. Eva grabbed his arm. I know what you're doing. You're planning to sacrifice yourself. Play the hero so Chen and I can escape with the evidence. But Noah, you have a daughter. June needs you. You can't throw your life away for this. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm fighting for something that matters. Noah's voice softened. Eva, my whole life, every mission I ran, every order I followed, I told myself I was making the world safer, making it better. But I was just a tool, someone else's weapon. This, right now, this is the first time I get to choose what I'm fighting for. And I choose those kids in those facilities. I choose truth over lies. I choose making sure my daughter grows up in a world where corporations can't murder children and get away with it. That's very noble. It's also suicidal. Maybe, but it's the right thing. Noah checked his gun one more time. Besides, I'm not planning on dying today. I'm planning on winning. Eva looked at him for a long moment, something shifting in her eyes. Then she reached up and pulled him into a fierce hug. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. For stopping on that road, for not walking away, for giving a damn when no one else would. Thank you for trusting me, Noah said quietly. Now come on, we've got a trap to set. They spent the next 10 minutes preparing the warehouse. Noah found old paint cans and industrial chemicals, creating makeshift smoke bombs. He rigged tripwires using fishing line and carabiners, setting them across key approaches. He positioned mirrors salvaged from an old bathroom on the second level to create confusing reflections and blind spots. It wasn't much, but it would give them an edge. Eva set up in what had once been a foreman's office, crouched behind an overturned desk with a clear sightline to the main entrance. The decoy drive sat on the desk in plain view. Bait. Noah positioned himself on the catwalk above, hidden in shadows, his gun trained on the floor below. From here, he could see everything: the entrance, the office where Eva hid, the approach routes the contractors would have to use. Chen's voice crackled over the radio headset Noah had given him. Vehicle approaching, black SUV, just like you predicted. 3 occupants, all armed. No backup visible, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. Copy, Noah whispered. Hold position. Do not engage unless necessary. The warehouse fell silent except for the wind whistling through broken windows and the distant cries of seagulls. Noah's heart hammered, but his hands were steady. This was familiar territory. Different war, different enemy, but the same principles applied. Control the terrain, know your exits, strike first and strike hard. The main door opened slowly, almost silently. Professional entry. The first contractor came through low and fast, sweeping with his weapon, checking corners. Military training, probably special forces background. The second followed, moving to cover the first blind spots. The third stayed at the entrance, watching their backs. They were good, disciplined, careful. Noah waited. The first contractor spotted the office, the drive sitting on the desk. He signaled to his partners, pointing. They moved as a unit, approaching cautiously, weapons raised. 20 feet from the office. 15. 10. Noah triggered the first smoke bomb. White chemical fog exploded across the warehouse floor, filling the space with choking clouds. The contractors reacted instantly, dropping into defensive positions, but the smoke disoriented them, made them uncertain. That's when Eva made her move. She burst from the office, running not toward the exit but deeper into the warehouse, into the maze of rooms and corridors Noah had scouted, making herself the target, drawing them in. The contractors took the bait. 2 of them followed Eva while the third moved toward the office, toward the drive. Noah dropped from the catwalk, landing behind the third contractor. The man spun, fast, but Noah was faster. He struck with the gun butt, catching the contractor across the temple. The man went down hard, unconscious before he hit the ground. One down. Noah grabbed the contractor's radio, heard chatter. Target's moving east, second level. In pursuit. Copy. Bring her back alive. Boss wants to question her first. So Rennox wanted Eva alive. Good. That meant they wouldn't shoot to kill immediately. It gave her a chance. Noah moved through the smoke, following the sounds of pursuit. He found the stairs to the second level, took them 3 at a time. Above he heard footsteps, heavy breathing, the crash of a door being kicked in. Then Eva's voice, defiant. You want this? Come get it. A gunshot. Not from Eva, she wasn't armed. From one of the contractors firing a warning shot. Noah came around the corner to find Eva backed against a window, the 2 contractors advancing with weapons raised. The decoy case was on the floor between them, where she'd dropped it. Hands up, the first contractor ordered. Don't move, or... Noah fired twice. Center mass, just like training. The first contractor went down, the second spun, bringing his weapon around, but Noah was already moving. He tackled the man, both of them crashing through a rotted section of flooring. They fell 10 feet, landing hard in a room filled with old machinery and broken glass. Pain exploded through Noah's shoulder, the old wound from Kandahar, screaming in protest. The contractor recovered faster, swinging his pistol toward Noah's head. Chen's shot took the contractor in the chest. The man dropped, dead before he could pull the trigger. 3 down, Chen called from somewhere above. But Noah, we've got company. More vehicles approaching, at least 5. This isn't reconnaissance anymore. They're coming in force. Noah struggled to his feet, his shoulder on fire. Eva? Here. She appeared at the hole in the floor, looking down at him with wide eyes. Are you hurt? I'll live. Did you get the case? Got it. Eva held up the decoy. But Chen's right. We need to move. Now. The sound of engines grew louder, doors slamming, voices shouting orders. Noah's mind raced. They'd bought time, taken out 3 hostiles, but now they were about to be overwhelmed. 15 contractors, maybe more, converging on their position. They couldn't fight that many, couldn't outrun them. Unless... Eva, give me the decoy, Noah said urgently. What? Trust me. Give me the case. Noah took it from her, his mind assembling a desperate plan. Chen, I need you to get Eva out of here. There's a drainage tunnel on the north side. It leads to the old service road. Take the truck and go. What about you? Eva demanded. I'm staying. I'm going to make Rennox think I have what he wants. Draw them all in here. Give you time to get away. Noah pressed his phone into her hands. My contacts are in here. Military friends, federal agents, people who owe me favors. Start calling. Tell them what's happening. Tell them to get agents to those facilities before Marlowe can evacuate the kids. Noah, you can't. I can, and I am. This is my choice, Eva. Let me make it. Noah looked up at her, and for just a moment let her see the fear beneath the determination. June is safe. Marcus will take care of her, but those other kids, the ones in the facilities, they have no one. So I'm staying, I'm making noise, I'm making sure this doesn't get buried. Tears streamed down Eva's face. You're going to die. Maybe. Or maybe federal agents show up in time. Maybe Mitchell actually believed you and sent help. Maybe I get lucky. Noah smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Besides, I've been on borrowed time since Kandahar. If this is how I go out, protecting kids, fighting the real enemy, I'll take it. Chen appeared beside Eva, pulling her back from the hole. We need to go. Now. Go, Noah ordered. And Eva, finish this. Make sure everyone knows what Marlowe did. Make sure those kids get justice. I will, Eva promised. I swear I will. Then they were gone, disappearing into the shadows. Noah heard them moving through the warehouse, heard the distant sound of the drainage tunnel grate being opened. They'd make it. Chen was smart, capable. He'd get Eva to safety. Noah turned his attention to the approaching contractors. He could see them through the broken windows now, at least a dozen armed men moving in coordinated teams surrounding the warehouse. Professional. Overwhelming force. He was one man with a pistol and maybe 30 rounds of ammunition, but he also had a warehouse full of chemicals, flammable materials, and 20 years of structural decay that made the building itself a weapon. Noah moved quickly, igniting the remaining smoke bombs, creating a fog bank that filled the entire first floor. He overturned fuel drums, letting gasoline pool across the concrete. He rigged the last of his fishing line across doorways, attached to loose machinery that would crash down when triggered. Then he positioned himself on the third level, in the old supervisor's office that overlooked everything. He set the decoy case on the desk in plain sight. Waited. The contractors came in cautiously, weapons raised, scanning through the smoke. Noah counted 12, then 15, then 20. They were committing everyone to this. Renix must have given orders to secure the drive at all costs. Good. That meant Eva and Chen had time. "Federal agents!" Noah shouted, his voice echoing through the warehouse. "You're surrounded. Drop your weapons." It was a bluff. There were no federal agents. But it worked. The contractors hesitated, confusion rippling through their ranks. They hadn't expected resistance, hadn't expected someone to be ready for them. In that moment of hesitation, Noah fired. Not to kill, but to panic. He aimed for the fuel drums, the gas pools on the floor. Sparks ignited fumes. Fire roared to life, spreading faster than anyone expected, cutting off escape routes, turning the warehouse into an inferno. Contractors scattered, some running for exits, others trying to reach the upper levels where Noah waited. But the tripwires did their work. Machinery crashed down, blocking paths, forcing them into kill zones where Noah picked them off one by one. He wasn't trying to win, just trying to survive long enough for help to arrive. Long enough for Eva to get far enough away that they couldn't catch her. A contractor made it to the third level, weapon raised. Noah fired, but his gun clicked empty. Out of ammunition. The contractor smiled, advancing slowly. Then the floor beneath him gave way, rotted wood finally surrendering to flame and weight. The contractor fell screaming into the fire below. Noah grabbed the decoy case and ran, heading for the roof access. Behind him, the warehouse was collapsing, fire and structural failure combining into catastrophic destruction. He burst onto the roof, gasping for breath, his shoulders screaming, smoke billowing around him. Below, contractors were evacuating, dragging wounded comrades, shouting into radios. The warehouse was lost, and so was their chance at the drive. Or so they thought. Noah stood at the roof's edge, holding the decoy case high so they could see it. "Looking for this?" he shouted. A man stepped forward from the retreating contractors, older, well-dressed despite the chaos, with cold eyes that Noah recognized from photos Eva had shown him. Clyde Rennox himself. "Mr. Redding," Rennox called up. "You've cost me a great deal of money today. 20 good men, a substantial investment. I'd very much like to recoup my losses." "Then you should have thought about that before you started killing children." Rennox's smile was like a knife. "Children die every day, Mr. Redding. I'm simply making their deaths useful, advancing science, saving future lives. By experimenting on kids who can't consent, by covering up the failures." Noah's voice rang with fury. "You're not a scientist, you're a monster." "I'm a pragmatist, and pragmatists understand that sometimes sacrifices are necessary for progress." Rennox pulled out a phone. "Now, you're going to throw me that case. If you do, I'll make your death quick. If you don't, I'll start with your daughter. June, isn't it? Such a sweet child. I'm sure she'll scream beautifully." Noah's vision went red. Every muscle tensed. He wanted nothing more than to throw himself off the roof, to tackle Rennox, to tear the man apart with his bare hands. But that would accomplish nothing. Eva and Chen needed more time. So Noah did the only thing he could do. He opened the case, pulled out the decoy drive, and held it over the edge of the roof. "You want this? Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away. You're going to call off your dogs. And if I hear about one more child being hurt, about one more witness dying, about anyone connected to this case having an accident, I'm going to drop this drive into the flames. All your secrets, all your evidence, gone. And then I'm going to hunt you down and finish what Eva started." Rennox studied him for a long moment. Then he laughed. "You're bluffing. That drive is worth more to you than your life. You wouldn't destroy it." "Try me." The standoff held for 1 second, 2, 5. Then from the distance, sirens, real sirens, growing louder. Rennick's face went pale. What did you do? I told you, federal agents, coming for your facilities, your files, your entire operation. Noah smiled grimly. You should have negotiated while you had the chance. Police cars and unmarked SUVs screeched into the lot surrounding the warehouse. Agents poured out, weapons drawn, shouting orders. Noah recognized Marcus among them, along with men and women in FBI windbreakers. And at the front, a woman with sharp eyes and a recording device already running, Sarah Mitchell. She'd come. Eva's desperate call had worked. Rennick's tried to run, but agents were already moving, surrounding his men, shouting for them to drop their weapons. It was over in seconds, contractors surrendering, hands raised, knowing they were outnumbered and outgunned. Rennox alone stood defiant, staring up at Noah. This isn't finished, he called. I have lawyers, resources. I'll be out before they finish the paperwork. Maybe, Noah called back, but your face is on camera. Your men are in custody, and in about 2 hours, every news outlet in the country is going to know your name. You can lawyer up all you want. Can't stop the truth. An FBI agent, a woman with gray hair and a face that had seen too many terrible things, approached Rennox. Clyde Rennox, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, human trafficking, and about 24 other charges we're still counting. You have the right to remain silent. As they led him away in handcuffs, Noah finally let himself collapse. He sat down hard on the roof, his body shaking with exhaustion and shock and relief. They'd done it. Against impossible odds, they'd actually done it. Marcus climbed up through the roof access, moving carefully across the unstable surface. Jesus, Noah. When you said you needed a favor, I thought you meant a ride to the airport or something, not this. How did you... The woman, Eva. She called me from Chen's phone, told me everything, told me you were about to do something stupidly heroic and I needed to get federal agents here yesterday. Marcus sat down beside him. I called in every favor I was owed. Got lucky. There was already a task force investigating Marlowe, but they didn't have enough evidence for warrants. Once I explained what you had, what was about to happen, they moved fast. The facilities? Being raided as we speak. Seattle, Montana, Nevada, and the one here in Oregon. Coordinated strikes, simultaneous entries. By the time Marlowe's people knew what was happening, agents were already inside. Marcus gripped Noah's good shoulder. You did it, brother. You actually pulled it off. Noah closed his eyes, letting the words sink in. They'd won. The kids would be safe. The truth would come out. Where's June? Noah asked quietly. Still at my cabin. Safe and sound. Probably driving my dogs crazy. Marcus smiled. You want me to bring her home? More than anything. Noah struggled to his feet, wincing as his shoulder protested. But first I need medical attention, and then I need to find Eva. Make sure she and Chen got out safe. Already done. FBI picked them up half a mile from here. They're giving statements now. Marcus helped Noah toward the roof access. Eva asked about you. Wanted to know if you made it. Tell her we finished it. Tell her those kids are going home. As they descended through the burning warehouse, past FBI agents and firefighters and news crews, Noah felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of purpose. The knowledge that he'd stood up when it mattered, had fought for something bigger than himself, had made a choice that might actually change lives for the better. June would grow up knowing her father had been a hero, the real kind. Not the kind who followed orders, but the kind who stood up when standing up was hard. And those kids, the ones in the facilities, the ones who'd survived being treated like lab rats, they'd get justice. They'd get help. They'd get a chance to heal. That was worth a burned shoulder and a condemned warehouse and 20 armed contractors. That was worth everything. The FBI field office in Portland smelled like burnt coffee and disinfectant, a combination that made Noah's already queasy stomach turn as a paramedic finished wrapping his shoulder. The bullet had grazed him during the warehouse chaos. He hadn't even felt it at the time, too focused on survival. But now the adrenaline was wearing off and pain radiated down his arm in waves. You're lucky, the paramedic said, securing the bandage. Another inch to the left, and we'd be having a very different conversation. Noah didn't feel lucky. He felt exhausted, hollowed out, like someone had scooped away everything inside him and left only the shell. But he was alive. Eva was alive. And somewhere in this building, federal agents were coordinating the largest pharmaceutical takedown in U.S. history. That had to count for something. Marcus appeared in the doorway, 2 cups of terrible coffee in hand. Thought you could use this. Though honestly, I'm not sure it qualifies as coffee. Might be motor oil. I'll take it. Noah accepted the cup gratefully, letting the heat seep into his hands. Any word on the raids? All 4 facilities secured. Agents are documenting everything. The drugs, the files, the conditions these kids were living in. Marcus's face was grim. It's bad, Noah. Worse than we thought. Some of these children have been in the system for years, cycled through multiple trials. One girl, she's 15 now, has been a test subject since she was 8. Noah felt sick. Are they getting medical attention? Best money can buy. FBI brought in pediatric specialists, trauma counselors, the works. They're treating this like a mass casualty event, which it basically is. Marcus sat down heavily in the chair beside Noah's. The director himself is overseeing the operation. This is going to be the biggest case the Bureau's handled in a decade. What about Rennox, the other board members? In custody, all of them. They tried to lawyer up immediately, but the evidence is overwhelming. Chen's files, Eva's testimony, the drives, the kids themselves. There's no wiggle room here. Marcus took a sip of his coffee and grimaced. Though I'm sure they'll try. Men like that always do. The door opened again and Eva walked in, accompanied by a female FBI agent. Eva looked transformed from the terrified fugitive Noah had found on that foggy road. She'd showered, changed into borrowed clothes that actually fit, and there was steel in her eyes that hadn't been there before. The fear was gone, replaced by something harder. Purpose. Noah? She crossed to him in 3 quick steps, then stopped, uncertain. I heard you were shot. Are you? I'm fine. Just a scratch. Noah set down his coffee and stood, wincing slightly. Are you okay, Chen? We're both fine, giving statements until our throats hurt, but fine. Eva glanced at the FBI agent, who nodded and stepped outside, giving them privacy. Noah, I don't know how to thank you. What you did at that warehouse, drawing them all in, giving us time to escape. You don't need to thank me. We were in it together. No. Eva's voice was firm. You had a choice. You could have walked away at any point, especially when Rennox threatened June. But you didn't. You stood your ground even when it meant putting yourself in the line of fire. Tears welled in her eyes. My father used to say that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. You proved that today. Noah didn't know what to say to that. He'd never thought of himself as particularly courageous. He'd just done what needed doing, what anyone would do in his position. Except most people wouldn't have stopped on that foggy road in the first place. The kids, Noah said, changing the subject. Marcus says they're getting help. Is it enough? Eva's expression darkened. Nothing will ever be enough. Not for what they've been through. But it's a start. The FBI's already coordinating with social services, finding safe placements, making sure no one falls through the cracks this time. She pulled out a tablet, showing Noah photographs. Children being led out of the facilities, wrapped in blankets, accompanied by gentle-faced agents and medical personnel. 43 kids total, all of them alive, all of them free. Noah stared at the photos, at faces that were too old for their ages, eyes that had seen too much. A boy who couldn't have been more than 13, his arms covered in needle marks. A girl with a shaved head and surgical scars. A teenager who stared at nothing, completely dissociated from the world around him. What happens to them now? Noah asked quietly. Long-term rehabilitation, therapy, medical treatment to undo as much damage as possible. And eventually, Eva's voice caught. Eventually, some of them will testify, tell their stories in court, help make sure Rennox and everyone involved spends the rest of their lives in prison. That's asking a lot. These kids have already been through hell. I know, that's why it's voluntary. No one will be forced to testify. But Chen's already gotten 3 of his witnesses ready to talk. And I'm told several of the kids from the facilities want their day in court, want to look Rennox in the eye and tell him exactly what he did to them. Eva's smile was sharp and terrible. Turns out being heard is sometimes more powerful than being protected. The FBI agent returned, clearing her throat politely. Ms. Marlowe, the deputy director wants to speak with you. And Mr. Redding, there's someone here to see you. Noah's heart leapt. June? In the lobby, your friend Marcus cleared it with security. Noah was moving before the agent finished speaking, ignoring the protests from his shoulder, from Marcus, from the paramedic who called after him about taking it easy. He didn't care. His daughter was here, safe, and he needed to see her with his own eyes. The lobby was crowded with agents and support staff, but Noah spotted June immediately. She was sitting on a bench beside Marcus's brother, still clutching her stuffed rabbit, her pink backpack at her feet. When she saw Noah, her face transformed. "Daddy!" She launched herself at him, and Noah caught her, lifting her despite the pain, holding her tight enough that she squeaked in protest. He buried his face in her hair, breathing in the smell of strawberry shampoo and childhood, feeling tears he'd been holding back for hours finally break free. "I missed you so much," Noah whispered. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry you had to go through this." "Are you okay? Uncle Marcus's brother said you were helping people, that you were a hero." June pulled back to look at him, her small hands framing his face. "Did you get hurt?" "Just a little. Nothing serious." And Noah set her down carefully, kneeling so they were eye to eye. "But yes, I was helping people, kids who needed someone to stand up for them. And it's over now. We're safe. The bad guys are in jail." "All of them?" "All of them." June seemed to process this, her 6-year-old mind working through complicated adult concepts. Then she asked, "What about the lady, the one from the fog?" "She's safe too. She's here, actually. She helped catch the bad guys." "Can I meet her? For real this time?" June's eyes were bright with curiosity. "I want to know why she was so scared and why she needed our help." Noah hesitated. Eva had been through so much. The last thing she probably wanted was to explain corporate conspiracy and child experimentation to a 6-year-old. But before he could deflect, Eva appeared from the hallway, having followed him to the lobby. "Hello, June," Eva said softly, kneeling beside Noah. "I'm Eva. Your daddy saved my life." June studied her solemnly. "Were you running from bad people?" "Very bad people. But your daddy stopped them. He kept me safe when no one else would." "That's what he does," June said matter-of-factly. "He helps people. He says that's what good people are supposed to do." Eva's eyes met Noah's over June's head, something unspoken passing between them. "Your daddy is right, and you should be very proud of him." "I am." June looked between them. "Are you going to be okay now? Are the bad people really gone?" "They're going to be locked up for a very long time," Eva promised. "And the kids they were hurting, they're going to get the help they need because of your daddy, because he was brave enough to do the right thing even when it was scary." June seemed satisfied with this answer. She hugged Eva impulsively, and Noah saw the CEO, the woman who'd been running for 2 years, who'd lost everything, who'd witnessed horrors that would haunt her forever, break down completely. Eva wrapped her arms around June, sobbing quietly, and Noah understood. This was what they'd been fighting for. Not abstract concepts of justice or truth, but this. A child who could hug a stranger without fear, who lived in a world where good people stopped bad things from happening. Marcus approached, giving them space but catching Noah's eye. "The deputy director wants to debrief you, both of you, but he says it can wait until tomorrow if you need rest." "Tomorrow's fine," Noah said. His shoulder throbbed, his body ached, and he was pretty sure he hadn't slept in 48 hours. "I just want to take my daughter home." "Understandable, but Noah—" Marcus's expression turned serious. "The media is already camped outside. This story is breaking everywhere. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, every major newspaper. Eva Marlowe rising from the dead to expose corporate murder? It's the biggest story of the year, maybe the decade. You're not going to be able to just slip away quietly." Noah's stomach sank. He'd been so focused on survival, on stopping Marlowe Pharmaceuticals, that he hadn't thought about the aftermath, about reporters shouting questions, cameras in his face, his private life dissected for public consumption. "I'll handle the media," Eva said, standing and wiping her eyes. "This is my story to tell. You and Chen can stay anonymous if you want." Background sources. I'll take the heat. Eva, you've already been through enough. And I'm the only one who can tell it properly. The CEO who discovered the truth, tried to stop it, and was nearly killed for it. The fugitive who spent 2 years gathering evidence. The whistleblower who brought down an empire. Eva's voice was steady now, controlled. This is what I have to do. Face the cameras. Tell the truth. Make sure everyone knows what Marlowe did and why it can never happen again. You don't have to do it alone, Chen said, appearing from another hallway. He looked as exhausted as Noah felt, but there was determination in his eyes. I've been fighting this battle for 18 months. I'm not stopping now. If you're facing the media, I'm standing beside you, telling Sarah's story, making sure people know she died trying to save children. Eva nodded gratefully. Then we do it together. But Noah, she turned back to him. You've given enough. You have a daughter to protect, a life to rebuild. You don't need to be part of the circus that's coming. Noah wanted to argue, wanted to insist on standing with them, but June's small hand slipped into his, and he knew Eva was right. His fight was over. He'd done his part. Now it was time to let others carry the torch. Okay, Noah said quietly. But if you need anything, testimony, evidence, just someone to have your back, you call me. Day or night. I'll be there. I know you will. Eva squeezed his free hand. Thank you, Noah. For everything. For believing me when no one else would. For risking everything to help strangers. For being proof that good people still exist. She hugged him one more time, careful of his injured shoulder, then straightened and turned to the FBI agent who'd been waiting patiently. I'm ready to give my statement to the press. Let's get this done. As Eva and Chen were led away toward the conference room where the media had gathered, Noah felt Marcus's hand on his shoulder. Come on, Marcus said gently. Let's get you two out of here. There's a back exit. My car's waiting. They slipped through the building quietly, avoiding the chaos erupting in the front lobby as Eva took the podium. Through the walls, Noah could hear her voice, strong, clear, unflinching, beginning to tell the story that would dominate headlines for months. My name is Eva Marlowe. 2 years ago, I discovered that the company I led was conducting illegal experiments on orphan children. When I tried to stop it, powerful people tried to kill me. This is how they failed, and how we're going to make sure it never happens again. Marcus's car was a beat-up sedan that smelled like coffee and wet dog. June climbed into the back seat, immediately buckling herself in. A responsible kid, always following the rules. Noah settled into the passenger seat with a groan, his body finally admitting how much damage it had sustained. You need a hospital, Marcus observed, pulling out of the parking lot through a service exit that bypassed the media circus. I need my own bed and about 12 hours of sleep, Noah countered. The paramedic already patched me up. I'll be fine. You got shot, tackled multiple armed contractors, and survived a building collapse. Fine is relative. I've had worse. In Afghanistan, maybe. You're not a soldier anymore, Noah. You're a dad who runs a boat repair shop. You're allowed to admit when you're hurt. Noah was quiet for a moment, watching Winmere's familiar street slide past the window. Mas. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, the fog finally burning off to reveal a clear day. Somewhere in the distance he could see the ocean, vast and endless and indifferent to human drama. I know I'm not a soldier anymore, Noah said finally. But when I saw Eva on that road, when I heard about what was happening to those kids, I couldn't just walk away. I couldn't be the person who saw something wrong and did nothing. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. You're one of the good ones, Noah. Always have been. Marcus glanced at him. Just promise me something. Next time you decide to take on a multi-billion-dollar corporation, maybe give me a little more advance notice. My heart can't take this kind of stress anymore. Noah laughed despite everything. Deal. No more spontaneous corporate takedowns. Daddy, June's voice came from the back seat. When we get home, can we have pancakes? Sweetheart, I'll make you pancakes every day for a week if you want. So just today is fine. With chocolate chips? With chocolate chips. They drove in comfortable silence after that, the chaos of the past few days giving way to the simple, beautiful normalcy of a father and daughter going home. Marcus dropped them at the workshop, refusing Noah's offer to come in for breakfast. I need to get back to the cabin, clean up, Make sure I didn't leave any evidence that June was there. Marcus paused. Also, I may have let the dogs sleep on my bed. My wife's going to kill me. Your secret's safe with me, Noah promised. Take care of yourself, brother. And Noah, you did good, really good. Sarah Chen, David's sister, she'd be proud. All those kids who are safe now, they're alive because you didn't look away. Marcus drove off before Noah could respond, leaving him and June standing in the morning light outside the workshop. The building looked the same as it always had, weathered and slightly shabby, surrounded by boats in various states of repair. But everything felt different now, like the world had shifted slightly on its axis, and nothing would ever quite line up the same way again. Come on, Noah said, taking June's hand. Let's go make those pancakes. Inside, the house was exactly as they'd left it. Dishes in the sink, June's drawings on the refrigerator, the comfortable clutter of a life built on routine and love. Noah moved through it mechanically, finding ingredients, heating the griddle, mixing batter while June chattered about the puppies at Marcus's cabin and how one of them had licked her face, and it was gross but also kind of cute. Normal, safe, home. Noah's hands shook as he poured the first pancake. Delayed shock, probably. His body finally processing what his mind had refused to acknowledge during the crisis, that he'd almost died, that June had almost lost her father, that if things had gone differently, if Rennox's contractors had been faster, or if federal agents had arrived 5 minutes later, he'd be dead in a warehouse and his daughter would be an orphan. Daddy, are you crying? Noah wiped his eyes quickly. Just tired, sweetheart. It's been a long couple of days. June came over and wrapped her arms around his waist, hugging him tight. It's okay to cry. You always tell me that. You say feelings aren't bad, they're just information. Noah laughed wetly, returning the hug. You're right. You're absolutely right. And yes, I'm crying because I'm happy we're safe, because I'm grateful I get to make you pancakes, because I love you more than anything in the world. I love you too, Daddy, even when you're being sappy. Fair enough. They ate breakfast together at the small kitchen table, chocolate chip pancakes drowning in syrup, orange juice in mismatched glasses. June told him about everything she'd done while staying with Marcus's brother, feeding the puppies, reading books, drawing pictures that she'd left at the cabin but would make again when she got new crayons. Normal kid stuff. The kind of conversation that felt like medicine after days of violence and fear. Afterward, Noah tucked June in for a nap. She was exhausted despite her chatter, her eyes drooping even as she insisted she wasn't tired. Within minutes, she was asleep, her rabbit tucked under her chin, her breathing deep and even. Noah stood in her doorway for a long time, just watching her sleep. This was what he'd been fighting for, this peaceful room with its purple walls and star-shaped nightlight. This child who could sleep without fear because her father had made sure the monsters were locked away. His phone buzzed, a text from Eva. Press conference over. Media frenzy in full effect. FBI estimates charges against 47 individuals so far, with more coming. Congressional hearings scheduled for next month. How are you holding up? Noah typed back, home, June's safe. That's all that matters. How about you? Exhausted, relieved, terrified about what comes next, but ready to see it through. Thank you again, Noah, for everything. Thank you for trusting me. Stay safe. You too. Noah set down his phone and moved to his own bedroom, collapsing onto the bed without bothering to undress. His shoulder ached, his body screamed for rest, but his mind wouldn't quiet. Images kept flashing behind his eyes. Eva on that foggy road, the warehouse burning, Rennox's cold smile, the photos of children who'd been used as test subjects. He'd won. They'd stopped Marlowe Pharmaceuticals, saved 43 kids, exposed corporate evil to the world. So why did he feel so hollowed out? Maybe because winning didn't undo what had already happened. Didn't bring back Dr. Sarah Chen or the countless others Marlowe had killed. Didn't erase the trauma those children had endured. Didn't change the fact that corporations like Marlowe existed everywhere, doing similar things, just waiting to be caught. Or maybe because Noah knew, deep down, that this was just one battle in an endless war. That evil didn't disappear just because you exposed it once. That there would always be another Rennox, another corrupt board, another group of powerful people who thought they were above consequences. But that was a problem for tomorrow. for the congressional hearings and the trials and the long, grinding work of systemic change. Today, June was safe. Eva was alive. Justice was being served. Today, that was enough. Noah closed his eyes and let sleep take him. He woke to his phone ringing insistently, sunlight streaming through the window. He'd slept for 6 hours, longer than he'd intended. Noah grabbed the phone, seeing Chen's name on the screen. "Noah, you need to turn on the news. Any channel." "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Just trust me. Turn it on." Noah stumbled to the living room, checking first that June was still asleep in her room. She was. He turned on the television, flipping to CNN. Eva's face filled the screen, not the bruised, terrified woman from the foggy road, but a composed, professional version, hairstyled, makeup applied, wearing a borrowed suit that fit perfectly. She was sitting across from Anderson Cooper, and the chyron at the bottom read, "Marlowe Pharmaceutical CEO speaks. I couldn't stay silent." "You were presumed dead for 2 years," Cooper was saying. "Why didn't you come forward sooner? Why wait until now?" "Because I was terrified," Eva said simply. "Because they tried to kill me, and I knew if I surfaced, they'd try again. Because I spent 2 years running, hiding, living like a ghost. But I couldn't keep running, not when children were still suffering, so I took a chance. I trusted a good man who could have walked away but didn't, and together we built a case that couldn't be ignored. This good man, can you tell us who he is?" "No, he's a private citizen who wants to stay private. A father who risked everything to do the right thing. He doesn't need media attention. He needs to go back to his life and be there for his daughter. So I'm asking, begging, all of you to respect that. Don't try to find him. Don't make him a target again." Cooper nodded. "What about the children? The ones who were part of these trials?" Eva's composure cracked slightly. "They're survivors, warriors. Some of them will testify, help make sure the people responsible face justice. Others need time and privacy to heal, but all of them deserve better than what they got. Better than a system that failed them, corporations that exploited them, adults who looked away when they should have stood up." "What happens now? To Marlowe Pharmaceuticals?" "The company my father built is finished, bankrupt, being dismantled by federal authorities, as it should be. But the work isn't done. There are other companies doing similar things, other facilities, other children being exploited. This can't be a one-time scandal that we forget about next month. This has to be a wake-up call, a moment where we collectively decide that corporate profits don't matter more than children's lives." The interview continued, but Noah muted it, his throat tight. Eva was telling their story, carefully, strategically, protecting his identity while making sure the world understood what had happened. She was magnificent, strong, exactly the kind of person who could turn tragedy into change. His phone rang again. Marcus this time. "You watching?" "Yeah." "She's good, really good. The FBI says donations are already pouring in for the survivors. Multiple senators calling for investigations. The Attorney General just announced a task force to investigate pharmaceutical trials nationwide." Marcus paused. "You did that, Noah. You started something that's bigger than any of us now." "We did it. You, me, Eva, Chen, all of us." "Sure. But you were the one who stopped on that road. You were the one who took her in when the smart move was to drive away. Don't diminish that." Noah didn't know how to respond to that, so he changed the subject. "Any word on Renix? The other board members?" "Being held without bail. Prosecutors are building cases for murder, racketeering, conspiracy. They're looking at life sentences if convicted. And they will be convicted. The evidence is overwhelming." Marcus's voice turned grim. "Though I'm sure they'll drag it out. File motions, try to get charges reduced. Rich men always do. But they won't walk away. No, not this time. Too much press, too much public outrage. Every politician in Washington wants to be seen taking them down. For once, that works in our favor." After Marcus hung up, Noah sat in silence, watching Eva's interview with the sound off. She was gesturing, explaining something to Cooper, her face animated despite the exhaustion Noah knew she must be feeling. A survivor, a fighter, someone who'd lost everything and still found the strength to keep going, just like the kid she'd been fighting for. June emerged from her room, rubbing her eyes. Daddy, is that the lady on TV? Yeah, sweetheart, that's Eva. She looks different, less scared. She is less scared. The bad people can't hurt her anymore. June climbed onto the couch beside him, studying the screen. She's pretty. And brave. Very brave. Like you. Noah pulled his daughter close, kissing the top of her head. Like all of us. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is keep going when everything's hard. Keep fighting when it would be easier to give up. That's what Eva did. What those kids did. What you did. Being strong while I had to be away. I wasn't strong. I was scared. Being scared doesn't mean you're not strong. It means you feel things, which is good. Noah tilted her chin up so she was looking at him. June, I want you to remember something. What happened these past few days, helping Eva, stopping the bad people, that wasn't about me being a hero. It was about seeing someone who needed help and deciding to help them. That's something anyone can do. That's something everyone should do. Even kids? Especially kids. You help your friends when they're sad. You stand up to bullies. You tell the truth even when lying would be easier. That's the same thing, just smaller. Noah smoothed her hair back. The world needs people who care more about doing the right thing than doing the easy thing. Can you try to be one of those people? June nodded solemnly. I'll try. That's all anyone can ask. They sat together watching Eva's interview until it ended, Cooper thanking her and promising ongoing coverage of the case. The screen cut to a panel of experts analyzing the scandal, predicting ramifications, debating reforms. Noah turned it off. He'd heard enough. The rest of the day passed in blessed normalcy. Noah made dinner, spaghetti with jarred sauce, nothing fancy but warm and filling. June talked about wanting to go back to school, see her friends, tell them about the puppies. Noah said maybe next week, after things calmed down. After dinner, they played board games at the kitchen table. June won at Candyland twice and accused Noah of letting her win, which he absolutely had, but would never admit. They read stories before bed. 3 chapters of the book they'd been working through, about a girl who discovered she could talk to animals. When June finally fell asleep, Noah sat in the living room with a beer he didn't really want, staring at nothing. The television stayed off. The house was quiet except for the ticking of the old clock his grandmother had given him and the distant sound of waves against the shore. His phone buzzed. Another text from Eva. Just finished 6th interview of the day. Exhausted, but it's working. Public pressure is enormous. Multiple law firms offering pro bono representation for the survivors. This is going to stick, Noah. We actually won. Noah typed back, You won. You're the one facing cameras, telling the story, making sure it matters. I'm just a guy who stopped his truck. You're the guy who saved my life, who gave me a reason to stop running, who proved that good people exist. Don't sell yourself short. Get some sleep, Eva. You've earned it. You too. And Noah, when this is all over, trials finished, reforms passed, survivors healing, I'd like to thank you properly. Take you and June to dinner. Tell her stories about her incredibly brave father. Would that be okay? Noah smiled despite his exhaustion. We'd like that. But Eva, you don't owe me anything. You fought for 2 years to protect those kids. You're the hero in this story. We're both heroes. So is Chen. So are Marcus and the FBI agents and every person who chose truth over silence. That's how these things work. Not one hero, a team of people who refuse to give up. Fair enough. Good night, Eva. Good night, Noah. And thank you for everything. Noah set down his phone and finished his beer, letting the quiet of his house settle over him. Tomorrow, there would be more interviews, more investigations, more work to do. But tonight, he had his daughter sleeping safely down the hall, a beer in his hand, and the knowledge that somewhere out there, 43 children were getting the help they needed because he'd made a choice to care. That was enough. More than enough. It was everything. 6 months later, Noah stood in the doorway of what had once been an abandoned office building on the edge of Windmere, watching contractors install the last window on the 2nd floor. The building had good bones, solid foundation, high ceilings, plenty of natural light, and over the past 4 months, it had been transformed from a decaying shell into something that actually looked hopeful. The sign went up that morning, gleaming letters against brushed steel. The Sarah Chen Foundation for Ethical Medical Research. Eva had insisted on naming it after David Chen's sister, the researcher who'd first tried to expose Marlowe's crimes. Chen himself had helped design the Foundation's mission statement, working late nights with Eva to create something that would honor his sister's memory while actually making a difference. Not just investigating corporate wrongdoing, but funding legitimate research, supporting whistleblowers, advocating for children in foster care and institutional settings. Noah had watched it all come together from a distance, refusing Eva's offers to be publicly involved, but helping where he could. He'd done the initial safety inspections, recommended contractors, used his workshop connections to get materials at cost. Small things. The kind of help that didn't require press conferences or interviews or his face plastered across news sites. The media attention had eventually died down, as it always did. For 3 weeks after the warehouse incident, Windermere had been flooded with reporters wanting to know who the mysterious good man was that Eva kept referencing. They'd investigated, asked questions, followed leads. A few had even knocked on Noah's door. He'd told them all the same thing. No comment. Please respect my privacy and my daughter's safety. Most had eventually given up and moved on to other stories. A few persistent ones had pieced together that Noah Redding, local boat repair guy, had probably been involved somehow. But without confirmation from Eva or the FBI, without proof beyond circumstantial evidence, they couldn't run with it. Noah remained a ghost in his own story, which was exactly how he wanted it. June had gone back to school 3 weeks after everything ended, nervous but excited to see her friends. Her teacher had pulled Noah aside that first day, asking gently if June needed any special support after the incident. Noah had been vague, family emergency, nothing to worry about, and June had been smart enough not to elaborate. She told her friend she'd spent time at a cabin with puppies, which was technically true, and left out everything else. Kids were resilient that way. June had nightmares for the first month, dreams about bad men and fires and her daddy not coming home. But they'd faded gradually, replaced by normal kid concerns like math homework and playground politics, and whether she'd get picked for the school play. Life had returned to something resembling normal. Noah fixed boats. June went to school. They had pancakes on Sundays and read stories before bed, and sometimes drove up to Marcus's cabin to visit the puppies, who were now gangly adolescent dogs with too much energy and not enough sense. But normal had shifted slightly. Noah found himself paying more attention to news about pharmaceutical companies, foster care reform, congressional hearings on corporate accountability. He donated anonymously to the Sarah Chen Foundation every month. Not much, but what he could afford. He volunteered at the local youth center on Thursday evenings, teaching basic carpentry to teenagers who reminded him too much of the kids from those facilities. And he stayed in touch with Eva and Chen, though they were both busy with the foundation, with testimony, with the endless work of turning tragedy into change. The trials had started 4 months ago. Clyde Rennicks and 11 other Marlowe executives facing a combined 847 charges ranging from conspiracy to commit murder to racketeering to child endangerment. The prosecution's case was devastating. Hours of testimony from survivors, financial records that proved systematic abuse, internal communications showing board members knew exactly what was happening and chose profit over ethics. Noah had watched some of it on television, had seen the survivors take the stand one by one, children who were now young adults describing horrors that made the courtroom go silent. The boy whose arms had been covered in needle marks, the girl with surgical scars, the teenager who'd learned to dissociate so completely he could watch his own abuse as if it were happening to someone else. They were brave beyond measure, and the jury had noticed. 3 weeks ago, the verdicts came down. Guilty on all counts. Rennicks had stood stone-faced as the judge read sentence after sentence, his expensive lawyers unable to do anything but watch their client go down. Life in prison without possibility of parole. The other executives got similar sentences, some slightly less depending on their level of involvement, but all of them were going away forever. Eva had called Noah that night, her voice shaking with emotion. It's over. They're actually going to pay for what they did. They are, Noah had agreed. You did that, Eva. You and Chen, and all those kids who were brave enough to testify. We did it together. All of us. Now standing in the foundation headquarters watching the sign go up, Noah felt that same sense of completion. Not closure. There was no such thing as closure when children had been hurt, but resolution. A sense that the story had reached not an ending, but a turning point. That what came next would be different, better, because of what they'd fought for. "Noah!" Eva's voice called from inside the building. "Come see what Chen did with the memorial wall." Noah stepped inside, his boots echoing on the polished concrete floors. The interior was modern, but warm. Lots of natural wood, comfortable furniture, walls painted in soothing colors. Not corporate sterile, but not institutional either. Somewhere in between. Somewhere that felt safe. Eva stood in what would become the main lobby, gesturing at a wall that stretched from floor to ceiling. It was covered in photographs. Not of the trauma, not of the trials, but of hope. Pictures of survivors smiling, kids who'd been through hell and come out the other side, now in college or trade schools or good foster homes. Each photograph was labeled with just a first name and a single word they'd chosen to describe themselves. Marcus. Resilient. Sophie. Survivor. James. Fighter. Dozens of them. A wall of faces that refused to be defined by their worst moments. In the center, larger than the others, was a photograph of Dr. Sarah Chen, young, vibrant, alive. Her label read simply, "Hero." Chen cried when he saw it, Eva said softly. Said it was perfect. Said Sarah would have loved knowing her work led to this. Noah studied the wall, feeling something tight in his chest. It's beautiful. All of it. You've built something real here, Eva. Something that matters. We built it. This foundation exists because you stopped on a foggy road and decided one person's life was worth risking your own. Eva turned to face him, and Noah saw how much she'd changed in 6 months. The fear was gone. The haunted look in her eyes replaced by determination and purpose. She'd gained weight, looked healthy, looked like someone who'd rediscovered reasons to live. I meant what I said 6 months ago. When this is all over, I want to thank you properly. Take you and June to dinner. Show her the foundation. Let her meet some of the kids we helped save. Eva, you don't need to. I want to, please. Eva's voice was gentle but firm. You've kept your distance, stayed out of the spotlight. Let me and Chen be the public faces. I understand why. But June deserves to know what her father did. What you both sacrificed to make this happen. Noah hesitated. Part of him wanted to keep June separate from all this, wanted to let her grow up without knowing how dark the world could be. But another part, the part that had taught her that being brave meant acting despite fear, knew Eva was right. June was smart. She'd already figured out that something big had happened. Better to hear the full story in a controlled way than to piece it together from fragments and imagination. Okay, Noah said finally. Dinner. This weekend if you're free. Nothing fancy, just the 3 of us. And Chen, if that's all right. He'd like to meet June too. Thank her for being brave while her father was saving lives. 4 of us then. Noah smiled. June will probably talk your ear off about school and her friends and how she's learning to swim. Fair warning. I'm counting on it. I need normal conversations about normal kid things. It's good medicine after months of trials and testimony. Eva glanced around the lobby, at the memorial wall and the comfortable furniture and the space they'd created for healing. This place opens officially next month. We'll have counselors, medical staff, legal advocates, a safe place for survivors to come when they need support, when they need to know someone's listening. What about you? What's next for Eva Marlowe? This. The foundation. Making sure what happened with Marlowe Pharmaceuticals never happens again. Eva's expression turned thoughtful. I've been asked to testify before Congress next month. They're drafting new legislation, stricter oversight for pharmaceutical trials, better protections for foster children, harsher penalties for corporate executives who break the law. They want my input on what would actually work versus what sounds good on paper. You'll be great at that, holding their feet to the fire, making sure they follow through. I plan to. Too many people make promises and then move on to the next headline. I'm not going anywhere. This is my life's work now. What I was supposed to be doing all along instead of chasing stock prices and board approval. Eva met his eyes. My father built Marlowe Pharmaceuticals to help people. Then it became something monstrous. The foundation is how I reclaim his legacy. How I prove that the Marlowe name can still mean something good. It already does. Look at this place. Look at those faces on the wall. That's your legacy, Eva, not the company. This. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching contractors work, listening to the sounds of something being built rather than torn down. After a moment, Eva said quietly, "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you regret it? Stopping on that road? Getting involved?" Noah didn't have to think about his answer. Not for a second. It was terrifying. It put June at risk. It turned my quiet life upside down. But those kids are safe now because I stopped. Because we fought. How could I regret that? Some people would. Most people would, probably. They'd say you were reckless, that you endangered your daughter for strangers. June's safe. Those kids are safe. Renix is in prison. That's not reckless. That's doing what needed to be done. Noah turned to face Eva fully. I spent years after leaving the military feeling like I'd been part of something broken, following orders that came from people who didn't understand what their decisions looked like on the ground. But this was different. This was choosing to stand up because it was right, not because someone ordered me to. That's worth any risk. Eva's eyes shimmered with tears. "You're a good man, Noah Redding. Better than you give yourself credit for." "I'm just a dad trying to teach his daughter that the world can be better if people care enough to make it better." Noah checked his watch. "Speaking of which, I need to pick June up from school in 20 minutes. But I'll see you this weekend. Saturday evening?" "Saturday evening? I'll make reservations somewhere nice, but not too fancy. Somewhere June will be comfortable." "Perfect." Noah headed for the door, then paused. "Eva, thank you. For protecting our privacy, for keeping my name out of the press, for understanding that I needed to step back. You gave me my life back. Protecting yours was the least I could do." Eva smiled. "Now go get your daughter. Tell her I'm looking forward to finally having a real conversation with her." The drive to Windmere Elementary took 15 minutes through familiar streets that Noah had traveled 1,000 times. The town looked the same as it always had. Small shops, fishing boats in the harbor, tourists taking photos of the coastline. But Noah saw it differently now. Saw the potential for good people to make a difference, for communities to protect their vulnerable members, for truth to matter more than money. June was waiting at the curb when Noah pulled up, her pink backpack looking comically large on her small frame. She climbed in with her usual chatter about her day. They'd done an art project. Her friend Emma had shared cookies at lunch. The teacher had read a story about dolphins. Normal. Beautiful. Exactly what Noah had fought to preserve. "Daddy, can we stop at the library? I need to return my books." "Sure thing, sweetheart." Noah changed course, heading toward the small brick building that housed Windmere's public library. "Hey, June, I wanted to tell you something." "What?" "Remember Eva, the lady we helped 6 months ago?" June's face got serious. "The scared lady from the fog." "That's right. Well, she wants to take us to dinner this weekend, her and her friend Chen. They want to thank you for being so brave." "I wasn't brave. I just stayed with Uncle Marcus and played with puppies." "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you keep going even when things are hard. You did that. You trusted me to handle things, and you stayed safe and you didn't panic. That's brave." Noah pulled into the library parking lot. "So Saturday evening, we're going to have dinner with them. They'll probably want to tell you about the foundation they built, about how they're helping kids who need it. Is that okay?" June considered this carefully, her 6-year-old face scrunched in concentration. "Are they nice?" "Very nice. Eva's really smart and kind. Chen lost his sister and he's working hard to honor her memory. They're good people, June, the kind of people I want you to know." "Okay, can I wear my purple dress?" "Absolutely. You'll look beautiful." They returned June's library books and checked out 3 new ones, 2 about animals and 1 about a girl who wanted to be an astronaut. On the drive home, June read the back covers aloud, her voice animated as she described the stories she was about to discover. This was what they'd fought for, Noah thought. Not just stopping Marlowe Pharmaceuticals or putting Renix in prison, but this. A child who could be excited about library books and purple dresses and weekend dinners. A child who lived in a world where adults stood up to protect the vulnerable, where justice mattered, where good people refused to look away. Saturday evening arrived with unusually clear weather. No fog, no rain, just the kind of perfect coastal sunset that made tourists fall in love with Oregon. Noah helped June into her purple dress, braided her hair the way her mother used to do it, and tried to ignore his own nervousness. This was just dinner, with people he already knew, people he trusted. So why did his hand shake as he buttoned his shirt? Maybe because this felt like closing a circle, like stepping out of the shadows he'd been hiding in for 6 months and acknowledging his role in something that had changed lives. Maybe because he was worried about what June would think when she learned the full story. Whether she'd be proud or angry that he'd kept things from her. Whether she'd understand why he'd made the choices he made. "Daddy, you look nice," June said, appearing in his bedroom doorway. "Are you nervous?" "A little," Noah admitted. "Are you?" "Kind of, but mostly excited. Eva seems really cool. And Chen, is he the one whose sister was a scientist?" "She was, a doctor who tried to help kids who were being hurt. Bad people didn't want her to tell the truth, so they stopped her. Chen has spent a long time trying to finish what she started." June absorbed this with the seriousness of a child trying to understand adult complexities. "Did you help him finish it?" "I helped. So did Eva. So did a lot of people. That's how important things get done, June. Not one hero, but lots of people deciding to do the right thing. Like a team." Exactly like a team. They drove to the restaurant Eva had chosen, a family-friendly place overlooking the harbor, with good food and reasonable prices and big windows that showed boats bobbing on darkening water. Eva and Chen were already there, seated at a corner table that offered some privacy from other diners. Eva stood as they approached, and Noah was struck again by how different she looked. Not just healthier, but lighter somehow, like someone had lifted a crushing weight off her shoulders, and she was rediscovering what it felt like to breathe freely. "June," Eva said warmly, kneeling so she was at the girl's eye level. "It's wonderful to see you again. You've grown." "Just a little bit," June said shyly. "I'm still the shortest in my class." "I was 2 at your age. Then I had a growth spurt when I was 13. You never know." Eva gestured to Chen, who stood with a gentle smile. "This is my friend David. He's been working with me to help kids who need it." Chen shook June's hand solemnly. "It's an honor to meet you, June. Your father talks about you constantly. I feel like I already know you." They settled into their seats, ordered food, chicken fingers for June, salmon for the adults, and fell into easy conversation. Eva asked June about school, about her favorite subjects, about the books she was reading. Chen told stories about the foundation, about kids they'd helped place in good homes, about a teenager who'd just been accepted to college with a full scholarship. Normal dinner conversation. No talk of trials or trauma. Just 4 people sharing a meal and enjoying each other's company. It wasn't until dessert arrived, chocolate cake for June, coffee for the adults, that Eva gently shifted the conversation. "June, your dad told you a little bit about what we do at the foundation, but I wanted to tell you more, about why it exists, and about why your father is one of the bravest people I've ever met." Eva glanced at Noah, who nodded. "Is that okay?" June set down her fork, her eyes serious. "Okay. 6 months ago, I was in trouble. Really bad trouble. Bad people were chasing me because I knew secrets they didn't want anyone to know. I'd been running for 2 years, hiding, scared all the time. Then one morning, I couldn't run anymore. I was hurt and exhausted, and I thought I was going to die on a foggy road where nobody would find me." Eva's voice was steady but emotional. "Then your dad stopped his truck. He saw me when most people would have driven past. He helped me when helping me was dangerous. He took me somewhere safe and he protected me even though it meant risking everything he had." June looked at Noah with wide eyes. "You didn't tell me it was dangerous." "I didn't want to scare you," Noah said honestly. "But yes, it was dangerous. The bad people who were chasing Eva, they threatened our family. They wanted to hurt us to get to her. But you helped her anyway." "I did. Because she needed help, and because what she was fighting for was important. She was trying to protect kids who were being used for experiments by a company that was supposed to help people. Kids who had no one to stand up for them." Chen spoke up, his voice gentle. "One of those kids was like a little sister to me, someone I'd known since she was tiny. The bad people hurt her because she tried to tell the truth. Your father helped make sure they couldn't hurt anyone else. June processed this slowly, her young mind working through complex ideas. So you were like a hero? Like in books? Not a hero, just someone who saw something wrong and decided to do something about it. Noah reached across to squeeze her hand. June, I know I scared you. I know there were days when you didn't know where I was or if I was safe. I'm sorry for that. But I need you to understand. Those kids had nobody. Nobody to protect them. Nobody to believe them. Nobody to stand up when adults were hurting them. I couldn't walk away from that. Even if it was scary. Even if it was dangerous. Does that make sense? June was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, At school there's a boy who gets picked on. Tommy. He's smaller and he talks funny, and some of the bigger kids are mean to him. What do you do when you see that happening? Noah asked. I tell them to stop, and if they don't, I tell the teacher. June looked up at him. Is that the same thing? Standing up for people who need help? That's exactly the same thing, just on a smaller scale. Noah felt his throat tighten. You're already doing what I did, sweetheart, being brave, standing up, making the world a little bit better. So it's okay that you helped Eva, even though it was scary? It's more than okay. It was the right thing to do. June nodded slowly, then turned to Eva. I'm glad my daddy helped you, and I'm glad the bad people are in jail now. Me too, Eva said softly. And June, your father saved my life, but you saved it too, because knowing he had you to come home to, knowing he was fighting not just for me, but to make the world safer for you, that made him stronger, braver. You're part of this story just as much as any of us. Really? Really? Every choice your father made, he made thinking about you, about keeping you safe, about teaching you that good people stand up to bad people. You're why he's a hero, June, because you made him want to be one. June seemed to glow at this, sitting up straighter in her chair. She finished her cake thoughtfully, then said, Can I see the foundation, where you help the kids? Absolutely, Eva said. We're opening officially next month, but I can give you a private tour anytime. Show you the memorial wall, the counseling rooms, the library we built. Would you like that? Yes, please. They finished dinner as the sun set over the harbor, painting the water in shades of gold and crimson. Other diners came and went, oblivious to the story unfolding at the corner table, to the quiet miracle of survivors finding healing and families finding purpose and justice, finally being served. As they walked to their cars after paying, Eva insisted on covering the bill. Chen pulled Noah aside. I never properly thanked you, Chen said quietly, for what you did, for helping Eva, for helping me finish what Sarah started. She would have liked you, I think. She always said the world needed more people who cared about doing right rather than doing well. I'm sorry you lost her. Sorry she didn't get to see this through. She saw enough. She knew the truth mattered, even if it cost her everything. And now, because of you and Eva and everyone who stood up, her death means something. It changed things. That's all any of us can hope for. Chen extended his hand. If you ever need anything, testimony, support, just someone to grab a beer with, I'm here. You're family now, Noah. You and June both. Noah shook his hand firmly. Same goes for you. And Chen, your sister would be proud of the foundation, of what you built, of how you honored her memory. That's clear to anyone who sees it. They parted ways in the parking lot, Eva giving June a hug and promising that tour soon. As Noah drove home with June chattering about the dinner and how nice Eva and Chen were, and could they maybe have chocolate cake more often, he felt something settle into place. Not an ending, but a beginning. A sense that what came next would be different, better, built on foundations of truth and justice, and people who gave a damn. The weeks that followed fell into a new kind of rhythm. Noah continued his boat repair work, but he also started consulting for the foundation, advising on building safety, helping design secure spaces, using his skills to create environments where traumatized kids could feel safe. It wasn't paid work. He wouldn't accept Eva's offers of a salary, but it was meaningful. Important. June visited the foundation twice before it officially opened, wide-eyed at the memorial wall and the bright, cheerful spaces Eva and Chen had created. She'd asked if she could add a drawing to the children's library, and Eva had framed it immediately, a crayon picture of the sun rising over the ocean, with hope written carefully across the bottom. The foundation's opening was covered by local news, but not the national media circus Eva had feared. Most of the country had moved on to newer scandals, newer tragedies. But the people who needed the foundation knew it was there. Survivors from Marlowe's facilities, other kids who'd been hurt by systems that should have protected them, whistleblowers who needed legal support and safe places to tell their stories. Within the first month, the foundation had helped 11 children find new placements, provided legal representation for 3 whistleblowers, and started funding 2 separate investigations into pharmaceutical companies with questionable trial practices. Small victories. But victories nonetheless. Noah watched it all from his intentional distance, proud of what Eva and Chen had built, grateful to have played a part, content to let others carry the torch publicly while he worked quietly in the background. Then, 3 months after the foundation opened, Eva called with an unusual request. "There's someone I'd like you to meet," she said. "One of the survivors from Horizon House, the facility here in Oregon. Her name is Madison. She's 17 now, been through hell and back, but she's strong. Fighter. She wants to learn a trade, something with her hands. I told her about your workshop, about how you teach carpentry to teens. She asked if she could meet you." Noah hesitated, not because he didn't want to help, but because he worried about what seeing him might mean to this girl. He was a reminder of everything she'd been through, a connection to trauma she was trying to heal from. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Noah asked. "I'm not exactly neutral. I was part of taking down the people who hurt her. That's exactly why she wants to meet you. She said she needs to thank the person who stopped them, who made it safe for her to finally tell the truth." Eva's voice was gentle. "Noah, you don't have to. If it's too much, if you'd rather stay separate from this, I understand. But I think it would help her, and maybe it would help you too." Noah thought about June, about the lessons he was teaching her about standing up and speaking out and being brave. How could he refuse to meet someone whose life he'd helped save? How could he tell June to be courageous if he wasn't willing to face the human cost of what they'd done? "Okay," Noah said. "When?" "This Saturday. At your workshop, if you're comfortable with that. She'll bring her case manager. No pressure, just a conversation." Saturday came faster than Noah expected. He cleaned the workshop more thoroughly than usual, organized his tools, made sure there was nothing that might be triggering. No needles, no medical equipment, nothing that might remind Madison of the facility she'd escaped. She arrived right on time, accompanied by a middle-aged woman who introduced herself as Karen, Madison's case manager. Madison herself was tiny, barely 5 feet tall, with dark hair cut short and eyes that were simultaneously ancient and achingly young. She wore jeans and a hoodie, her hands shoved deep in her pockets, her posture defensive. "Hi, Madison," Noah said gently. "Thanks for coming. Eva told me you wanted to learn some carpentry." Madison nodded but didn't speak, her eyes scanning the workshop, cataloging exits and potential threats. Survival instincts. Noah recognized them from soldiers he'd served with, people who'd been in combat so long they couldn't turn off the hypervigilance. "How about I show you around?" Noah suggested. "No pressure. If you're not comfortable, we can just talk. Or not talk. Whatever feels right." Slowly, carefully, Madison began to relax. She examined Noah's tools, asked quiet questions about what they were for, ran her fingers over wood he'd been shaping for a boat repair. After 20 minutes, she finally spoke more than monosyllables. "Eva said you're the one who stopped them, who made it safe for us to leave." "I helped, but a lot of people were involved. Eva, Chen, federal agents, lawyers. It was a team effort. But you started it. You found Eva, and you didn't turn her away." Madison looked up at him, and Noah saw tears in her eyes. Nobody ever stopped before. Guards, social workers, all these adults who were supposed to protect us, they all just looked away, pretended they didn't see. But you didn't. I saw someone who needed help, that's all. That's everything. Madison wiped her eyes roughly. I was in Horizon House for 3 years. 3 years of tests and drugs and pain and adults telling me I was lucky to have a place to sleep, that I should be grateful. And I believed them because I didn't know any different. But you, her voice broke, you proved that adults could be good, that someone cared enough to stop them. Noah felt his own throat tighten. I'm sorry you went through that. I'm sorry we didn't find you sooner. You found us eventually. That's more than most people did. Madison took a shaky breath, composing herself. I want to learn carpentry. Want to build things instead of being broken down. Eva said you teach kids like me, that you don't ask questions or make us talk about stuff before we're ready. Is that true? Completely true. You come here, you learn to work with wood, you build things. That's it. No therapy, no pressure, just skills and quiet. Noah gestured around the workshop. I teach Thursday evenings, 6 to 8, usually 5 or 6 kids. We work on projects, birdhouses, small furniture, whatever people want to learn. You're welcome anytime. What if I'm not good at it? Then you practice until you are. That's how skills work. Nobody's born knowing how to use a chisel or read wood grain. You learn by doing, by making mistakes and trying again. Noah pulled out a piece of scrap wood and a simple carving knife. Here, try making a curve. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just try. Madison took the knife hesitantly, positioning it against the wood like Noah showed her. Her first attempt was awkward, the knife slipping. She tensed, expecting criticism or punishment, the learned response of someone who'd been hurt for failing. Good start, Noah said calmly. Now adjust your angle slightly. Keep steady pressure. There you go. The second attempt was better, the third better still. By the 10th try, Madison was creating smooth curves, her face intense with concentration. When she finally set down the knife and looked at what she'd made, rough but recognizable, she smiled. Actually smiled. I did that, she said, wonder in her voice. You did. And next week, if you come back, you'll do something even better. Noah wrapped the carved piece in paper towel and handed it to her. Keep this. Reminder that you can create beautiful things even after people tried to break you. Madison clutched the carved wood like it was precious. I'll be here Thursday, 6 o'clock. I'll be waiting. After Madison and her case manager left, Noah sat alone in his workshop for a long time, staring at his hands. These hands that had held weapons, that had fought and killed when necessary, that had built defenses and torn down barriers. These hands that were now teaching traumatized teenagers to create instead of destroy. Maybe that was redemption. Not grand gestures or public heroics, but this, quiet moments, small skills passed on, one person at a time choosing to build something better. His phone buzzed, a text from Eva. Karen called, said the visit went well. Madison's already looking forward to Thursday. Thank you, Noah, for giving her something to hope for. Noah typed back, thank you for sending her, for trusting me with these kids. You've earned that trust 100 times over. Dinner next week? June's been asking when she gets to see the new art exhibit at the foundation. Next week sounds perfect. The months continued to pass, each one bringing small victories and quiet progress. Madison became a regular at Noah's Thursday workshop, her skills improving steadily, her defensive posture gradually relaxing. Other survivors joined her, teenagers who'd been through their own versions of hell, who needed safe spaces and patient teachers, and the simple dignity of being allowed to learn without judgment. June thrived in school, her natural compassion for others growing as she saw her father model what it meant to care about people beyond your immediate circle. She volunteered to read to younger kids at the library. She organized a toy drive for foster children with her classmates. Small acts of kindness, building toward a lifetime of choosing empathy over indifference. Eva and Chen's foundation expanded, opening satellite offices in 3 other states, providing resources and support to survivors nationwide. Congressional hearings led to new legislation, stricter oversight for pharmaceutical trials, better protections for vulnerable populations, harsher penalties for corporate executives who prioritize profit over human welfare. Not perfect laws, but better than what had existed before. And slowly, painfully, the survivors began to heal. Not all of them. Trauma doesn't disappear just because justice is served, but enough. Enough kids finding safe homes. Enough wounds beginning to close. Enough hope returning to eyes that had seen too much darkness. One evening in late spring, nearly a year after that foggy morning when Noah had stopped his truck, Eva called with news. There's a ceremony, she said. The state's recognizing civilians who made significant contributions to child welfare. They want to honor you, Chen, Marcus, even June, for her bravery during the investigation. It's next month. Black tie, governor will be there, media coverage, everything you hate. Noah groaned. Can I say no? Technically, yes. Practically, no. These kids are survivors. They want to see you honored. Want the world to know that regular people can make extraordinary differences. Madison specifically asked if you'd be there. That's not fair, using Madison as leverage. I'm willing to fight dirty if it means you get the recognition you deserve. Eva's voice softened. Noah, you've spent a year in the background, helping quietly, teaching kids, building things instead of seeking attention. That's admirable. But sometimes it's okay to step forward, to let June see her father celebrated for his courage, to show those kids that their protector is valued. Noah was silent, weighing his hatred of public attention against the idea of disappointing Madison, of missing a chance to show June that doing the right thing mattered. Fine, he said finally. One ceremony, but I'm not giving a speech. Deal. Just show up, accept the award, let people thank you, that's all. The ceremony was held at the state capitol, a grand building with marble columns and vaulted ceilings that made Noah uncomfortable in his rented tuxedo. June wore a new dress, deep blue this time, her choice, and had insisted on wearing her best shoes even though they pinched her toes. The room was filled with politicians, journalists, foundation supporters, and most importantly, survivors. Kids who'd been rescued from Marlowe's facilities, now dressed in their best clothes, sitting in the front rows with their case managers and foster families. Noah spotted Madison immediately, her hair grown out slightly, wearing a dress and looking uncomfortable, but determined. The governor spoke first, giving a speech about courage and justice and the importance of standing up to institutional corruption. Then Eva took the podium, telling the story, carefully edited to protect the most traumatic details, of how one man's decision to stop had cascaded into nationwide reform. Noah Redding is not a politician, Eva said, her voice carrying through the room. He's not a lawyer or an activist or someone who sought recognition. He's a father, a veteran, a man who fixes boats for a living. But when he saw someone in need, when he learned that children were being hurt, he made a choice. He chose courage over comfort, truth over silence, justice over personal safety. And because of that choice, 43 children are free. Because of that choice, a corrupt corporation was dismantled. Because of that choice, laws were changed and systems were reformed and countless future children were protected. That's the power of one person deciding to care. Noah accepted the award, a heavy glass plaque engraved with words about service and bravery, and managed a brief thank you that mentioned Eva, Chen, Marcus, the FBI agents, the survivors themselves. He kept it short, kept it focused on others, and was grateful when he could step away from the podium and let someone else take over. But then Madison approached, accompanied by 6 other teenagers. They'd clearly planned this, had probably practiced. They stood in a line facing Noah, and Madison spoke for all of them. "We wanted to thank you," she said, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "Not just for stopping the bad people, but for seeing us, for believing we mattered, for caring enough to fight when no one else would." She pulled out a wooden box, clearly handmade, with careful joints and smooth finish. "We made this in carpentry class, all of us together, using skills you taught us." Inside, she opened the box to reveal a folded piece of paper. Letters from every survivor you helped save, telling you what your actions meant to us, what hope looks like when someone finally stands up. Noah took the box with shaking hands, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. June pressed against his side, looking up at the teenagers with wide, understanding eyes. "You're all so brave," June said quietly. "My daddy says being brave means acting even when you're scared. You're all really good at that." Madison smiled at her. "So are you. Eva told us how you stayed calm when things were scary, how you trusted your dad to make things right. That's brave too." "Will you all be okay?" June asked with the blunt honesty of children, "now that the bad people are gone?" "We're working on it," one of the other teenagers said. "Some days are harder than others, but we're trying. And having people like your dad and Eva and Chen, people who keep showing up, keep caring, that makes it easier." They talked for a few more minutes, These teenagers who'd survived horrors sharing space with a 6-year-old girl who'd survived her own smaller trauma, finding common ground in the language of healing and hope and refusing to let darkness win. Later, after the ceremony ended and they'd said their goodbyes, Noah drove June home through streets illuminated by the soft glow of spring twilight. She was quiet, processing everything she'd seen and heard. "Daddy," she finally said, "when I grow up, I want to be like you and Eva. I want to help people who need it." "You already do, sweetheart. Every time you stand up for Tommy at school, every time you share your lunch with someone who forgot theirs, every time you choose kindness over cruelty. That's helping. But I want to do big things, important things. The big things are made up of thousands of small things. You don't wake up one day and suddenly save the world. You practice every day in little ways until helping becomes who you are instead of what you do." Noah glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "You're already on that path, June. I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of you too, even if ceremonies are boring." Noah laughed. "They really are, aren't they?" When they got home, Noah opened the wooden box Madison and the others had made. Inside were 43 letters, each one handwritten, each one telling a story of pain and survival and gratitude. He read them one by one, tears streaming down his face, June curled up beside him on the couch, even though it was past her bedtime. These were the people he'd fought for. These voices, these lives, these children who'd been treated as expendable and were now reclaiming their humanity one word at a time. It was worth it, all of it, every moment of fear, every risk, every sacrifice. It was worth it. The next morning, Noah woke to find June in his workshop, trying to recreate the carved wood piece he'd shown Madison how to make. She was concentrating fiercely, her tongue poking out the corner of her mouth the way it always did when she was focused. "Want some help?" Noah offered. "Yes, please. I want to make something for Eva, to say thank you for dinner and the foundation tour, and being nice." They worked together in comfortable silence, Noah guiding June's hands, teaching her to read the grain, to apply steady pressure, to be patient with the process. An hour later, June had created a small wooden heart, rough and imperfect, but unmistakably made with love. "It's beautiful," Noah said honestly. "Eva's going to treasure it." "Really?" "Really. Because it's not about being perfect. It's about caring enough to try." That evening, they drove to the foundation headquarters where Eva was working late. She greeted them with surprise and delight, and when June presented her wooden heart with a solemn, "Thank you for being brave and helping kids," Eva broke down completely. "This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received," Eva said, holding the heart carefully. "I'm going to put it on my desk where I can see it every day. Reminder that all of this, the foundation, the work, the healing, it's all worth it." They ended up staying for dinner. Takeout Chinese food eaten in Eva's office, while June drew pictures and the adults talked about plans for expanding the foundation's reach, about new legislation working its way through Congress, about survivors thriving in their new lives. As the sun set and painted the office in shades of gold, Noah looked around at this makeshift family they'd built. Eva, who'd been hunted and terrified and was now strong and purposeful. June, who'd been scared but brave and was now learning to channel that courage into helping others. And himself, a man who'd spent years trying to outrun his past and had finally found redemption in standing up for people who needed him. This was what they'd fought for. Not the awards, or the recognition, or the headlines. This, quiet evenings, Chinese food, a child's laughter, survivors healing, good people working together to make the world incrementally better. Eva caught him watching and smiled. "What are you thinking?" "That I'm grateful. For that foggy morning. For the choice to stop. For everything that came after." Noah's voice was quiet but certain. "I spent a lot of years feeling like I'd wasted my life following orders that didn't matter. But this, all of this matters. This is what I was supposed to be doing all along." "We all were," Eva agreed. "Sometimes it takes tragedy to show us our purpose, to reveal what we're capable of when we stop playing it safe." "Are you scared?" June asked suddenly. "About what comes next?" Eva considered the question seriously, not dismissing it as adults often did with children's concerns. "Sometimes. Change is always scary. But I'm not scared like I used to be. Now I'm scared of not doing enough, of letting people down, of wasting this second chance I've been given. That's a better kind of scared, June decided. That's the kind that makes you do stuff instead of hide. When did you get so wise? Noah asked his daughter. I learned from you. You hide from ceremonies, but not from helping people. That's the good kind of scared. Eva and Noah exchanged glances over June's head, both of them recognizing the profound truth in a 6-year-old's simple observation. Fear was inevitable, but what you did with that fear, whether you let it paralyze you or used it as fuel to keep fighting, that was a choice. They'd all chosen to fight, and in fighting, they'd found each other, found purpose, found proof that good people still existed and still won sometimes and still made a difference even when the odds seemed impossible. As they prepared to leave, Eva walked them to the door, her hand resting on the wooden heart June had made. Same time next week? Same time, Noah confirmed, though maybe skip the Chinese food. My fortune cookie said adventure awaits, and I think I've had enough adventure for one lifetime. Fair enough. Pizza next time. Perfect. They walked to the truck together, June skipping ahead, Noah and Eva following at a slower pace. At the truck, Eva caught Noah's arm. I never asked you properly, she said quietly. That morning on the foggy road, when you stopped, why? Why risk everything for a stranger? Noah thought about all the answers he could give, because it was right, because he'd been a soldier trained to help, because he couldn't live with himself if he'd driven past. But the truth was simpler and more complicated than any of those explanations. Because June was watching, he said finally, because I wanted her to grow up knowing her father was someone who stopped when people needed help, because I couldn't teach her to be brave if I wasn't willing to be brave myself. Eva nodded slowly, understanding. We're not just saving people when we make these choices. We're showing the next generation what's possible, what's worth fighting for. Exactly. Then let's keep fighting, keep showing up, keep proving that truth matters, and justice is possible, and good people can win. Eva squeezed his arm. Together. Together, Noah agreed. He climbed into the truck where June was already buckled in, clutching the wooden rabbit that had been her companion through everything. As they drove away from the foundation, past the sign bearing Sarah Chen's name, past the building filled with hope and healing, Noah felt something he'd been searching for his entire life finally settle into place. Peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of purpose. The knowledge that he'd used his life for something meaningful, that he'd stood up when it mattered, that he'd been the kind of father, the kind of person who made the world better by refusing to look away. Daddy? June's voice interrupted his thoughts. Can we get ice cream? Noah laughed, the sound free and genuine. Absolutely. What flavor? Chocolate, with rainbow sprinkles. Good choice. And as they drove through Windermere's familiar streets toward the ice cream shop that stayed open late for tourists and locals alike, Noah Redding, former soldier, single father, boat repair guy, an unlikely hero, felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope for the future, gratitude for the present, peace with the past, and the absolute certainty that when tomorrow brought new challenges, new people who needed help, new chances to choose courage over comfort, he'd be ready. They all would be. Because that's what families did. They showed up, they stood together, they fought for what mattered and refused to let darkness win. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough.